Sleepy town settling for the night, where the Owens women live their lives. And it's about time that the back porch light comes on at that house down the street, at that house on Magnolia Street.
Hey, witch, hey.
Hey, witch, hey.
What's up?
You know what? This is our second go around because a good chunk of our notes disappeared, so we're gonna have to redo the intro. So hey, you guys, hey.
Evernote for failing. Are we in a retrograde?
I don't think so. We were just on our high horse, and universe was like,
We're
"No,
just
you
too
stupid
cocky."
bitch." We are too cocky. Welcome to Magnolia Street. This is a practical magic fandom podcast, and I'm Kristina.
I'm Justina.
It's 11:11 right now.
Make wish. I'm wishing for what you said this morning on Marco to me. Do you remember what you said?
A healthy bowel movement.
No. No, I was referring to the Alice Hoffman one, but I'm not going to say it out loud because then it won't come true.
Oh yeah. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Okay. Yeah. All right. By the way, sorry everybody. You'll know when it happens, but we can't tell you what the wish is because then it won't happen.
That's right. But we can tell you that we realize
but we can tell you that Kristina had a healthy bowel movement.
It's for both of us. It's our heating pads are our best friends today for different reasons.
Mine is not warm right now. This is my second one. I told you Punky tore up the first one that I had.
Little shit.
Yeah, he's such a little shit. He dragged the thing from the bed all the way to the dining room where I was, and he left a trail of rice. I see him whipping his head around like a dog with a toy, and I'm like, what the fuck is he ripping apart? My heating pad.
He likes the weight of it.
I don't know. Maybe he liked the smell of the lavender rice. I don't fucking know.
You gotta get an electric one.
Ripped it apart.
Crank that shit up to 11.
It took me. Is that a Spinal Tap reference?
Yeah.
So it took me a year to buy a new heating pad. So I just bought this new one, and now I'm super paranoid because when he ripped it up, it was under a lot of pillows and blankets and stuff. So he
went
dug
searching.
He dug that shit out. So now I put it in my bedside drawer so he can't get to it. I'm super paranoid about leaving it around him now.
I gotta get you an electric one, man.
I don't like the electric ones.
Why not? Because there's no weight to them.
I guess. This one's nice and weighted, and it smells like lavender. It's so nice. It's got pretty moons and stars on it.
It's so whimsigoth.
It is whimsigoth.
I will tell the listeners that Goran Visnich has an Instagram, so start tagging him in all this stuff. Griffin Dunn has an Instagram. Roman and Williams has an Instagram. I also reached out to Elliot Lurie of Looking Glass on Facebook for branding.
Basically, Kristina has 100% amazing
Gemini'd out
stalker skills.
My Gemini showing.
I feel bad bothering people, and Kristina's tag them in everything. Camilla Bell, Nicole Kidman. Yeah. No, but you're right though. It's crazy how accessible celebrities are these days. You know,
whether or not they see it. Yeah. Sometimes they do. Like Alice Hoffman.
Well, listen to this shit. So on our last episode, I think we were talking about Trixie Motel, right?
Yeah.
And the woman on that show, Danny, I forget her last name, but she was the designer that helped Trixie revamp the whole hotel. And she's on Instagram. And I was I saw one of her pictures pop up, and I saw it only had 25 comments. So right away, I'm okay, she's accessible. Right?
Yeah.
And she responds to every one of her comments.
Wow.
So I commented on her photo, adorable photo, by the way. She designed her wedding dress, her and her husband got married on Trixie's show at the hotel, and she designed this cute little poolside wedding dress for it.
Adorable.
It's adorable. So she took a picture with that dress on by the pool, and that's the photo that I commented on, and I was oh my god, I love the show so much. I'm so upset it's over. It was way too short. I wrote a mini novel, and she responded to me, and I was I'm so upset it's over. I really wish that there was another season of just the day-to-day at the motel, how they run the motel and stuff like that. She gave me a little inside scoop. She was
cool.
She was like, oh yeah. She was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but they're definitely in talks for doing more. And I was like,
That's great, dude. That's awesome.
so I got a little tidbit. I hope they do another season because I'm obsessed and I'm so upset that the show is over.
Just slide in that, like, hey, we talked about y'all on our show. Here's our link.
Yeah.
And then they have to kind of like get through the weeds to find out what we were talking about. And we were just gushing over Overpeck.
Yeah, I'll give them the timestamps. It's fine. They don't have to weed
You're
through
so nice.
all of our bullshit.
You're so nice.
But anyway, it's crazy how accessible everybody, celebrities are. Like you always say to me, Kristina, celebrities are people too.
Yeah.
And I always have to remind myself that. But I the people who like I super have been idolizing for years, I'm just like, oh, what do I say? What do I do? I don't want to embarrass myself.
You gonna live a little or are you gonna live a lot?
You're exactly right. But you know what? I'll let you do the heavy lifting.
Okay, thanks.
You seem very comfortable in that role, so I'll leave that to you.
They're the only other celebrity like I can think of that I got to talk to, which I don't know. I don't think many people know him, but have you seen the musical Newsies?
No.
Okay. There's a character in Newsies called Skittery, and the actor's name is Michael Gorgon, and it was directed by fucking forget. But I reached out to Michael Gorgon a few times, and I was crushing on him so hard from like 6th grade to 8th grade. Right. Okay. So then adult me finds out he's got an Instagram. I message him. He messages me back later on. He references something. I send him a YouTube link for a song. He messages me back and I'm losing my shit because he is amazing. And he just won some awards for his movie because now he's a director.
Oh, wow.
He's a nice man.
That's cool. He was like conversing with you.
I know. Conversing. Yeah. It was like, no, it was more like, oh, thanks. Or like, I'm glad you like it.
Thanks. Here's a restraining order.
Yeah. Kenny Ortega was the director of Newsies. Okay.
Anyway.
So we have some patrons we want to thank.
Do you want to take the first one? Or should I take the first one?
Our first patron of the day. We want to thank guys. We got the Donna.
The Donna.
Yeah, no last name.
It's like the Madonna without the ma, just Donna.
Donna.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's
Donna.
epic. Yeah, Donna. We hope we didn't offend you the past couple episodes.
The Louis L'Amour episode.
Yeah, the Louis L'Amour episode when we came up with our names. We could do a different name. We don't have to do Donna.
It's not Donna. It's DAWN.
Oh, you're right.
AA or Donna.
I like how we like gave her a heads up in the Patreon messages. We're like, hey, just want to let you know. That's
sorry, we used your name.
No offense. I hope she even gets this far to hear this little bit of apology because she might have heard that first, like the bit from the Louis L'Amour episode and just stop listening.
I know.
We're gonna see her withdraw her. We're gonna see her withdraw her patronage. Like
delete
after Friday tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Episode comes out, so yeah, we hope Donna doesn't delete us.
Thank you, Donna, for all your helps with the show.
We appreciate it. I'm excited that we have a patron named Donna.
I know. You will forever be the one and only. Any other Donna that comes in will just be Donna.
And then we have Summer L.
Her name, the full name, we won't share, but the cutest fucking name. So Summer L, thank you so much.
It reminds
welcome
me
to Magnolia Street.
It reminds me of the little dinosaur from Land Before Time. Do you remember that movie?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It's not that.
It's kind of like Littlefoot, but it's not Littlefoot.
It's not Littlefoot, but it's cute like that.
It's cute like that.
So we'll just call her Summer Littlefoot for the sake of this podcast.
I like that. Thank you guys so very much, and welcome to Magnolia Street. We hope you're enjoying the comfy coziness over on our Patreon. Fuck me.
Patreon off today.
Patreon off indeed. Yeah, man. So let's kick this sucker off, shall we?
Fucking kick the shit out of this bitch because we spent a half an hour redoing our notes because Evernote decided to shit the bed and totally fuck us today. Yeah. So we're gonna.
Did you shit in the bed?
I'ma shit on these walls, Ray. You remember that scary movie? So today we're talking about no, we're not talking about belladonna, but we have some belladonna truffle experiences. You guys have been reaching out to us on the Instagrams because y'all just listened to that belladonna episode that we just released, and you guys reached out to us about some of your own. You guys have tried these belladonna truffles.
Mm-hmm.
So like we're late to the party, but you guys have been trying these and wanted to tell us all about your experiences with them. So we're going to read some of these experiences on the show. The two people that wrote to us had some very good things to say about these truffles.
Yeah, of course. We like your opinion. Like, we have not tried it, so we can't have an opinion. We just know like our safety level and what we're comfortable doing. But it sounds like they both had good experiences with this.
Yeah, our follower Brittany R does mention that she is also kind of cautious with them because the alkaloids can build up over time. So,
Interesting. Okay.
proceed with caution, even though both of these people seem to have pleasant experiences with these truffle chocolates. It does seem like there is still some skepticalness about the alkaloids and building up over time if you ingest these too often or
too frequently, or don't leave enough like buffer time in between.
Yeah. It's kind of like that Jillian deal when she's giving
the microdosing
Jimmy over an extensive period of time. Eventually, we think that's what killed him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though Aunt Jet and Francis said that dose isn't enough to kill a mole rat, but you know what? Maybe it is over time.
Right.
So just be careful. So
yeah.
Brittany R, one of our Instagram followers, she says, I've had a few of them. They're very tasty. They just kind of put you in a meditative space, but I wouldn't use them more than a couple times a year because alkaloids can build up. Highly recommend Persephone's Path and Banefolk for the poison path as far as meditations and essences and flying ointments.
Wow.
I trust them. Some other people selling those things, not so much. Hope that helps. Also, my friend Among Oaks and Owls is going to do some poison plant medicine classes soon. Moonlight Garden says, oh my god, I love Emporium Black. Their nightshade truffles are delicious. Black heart skull emoji. I feel like I'm in The Circle. Do you ever watch that show The Circle where they're like,
I did.
Emoji skull.
That show was so good. I was really hesitant to watch it. I was like, this is so stupid. And I was glued. I was like,
the Spice Girls were on that. Did you see the Spice Girl season?
No, I only watched one season. How many seasons are there?
Fairy Spice and Baby Spice were on a season.
Oh
and
my god, I know what I'm doing.
They catfish everybody. Yeah. It's amazing. All right, go watch it. Go watch it. Black heart emoji, skull, send. So Moonlight Garden goes on to say, you can eat the whole thing. It's a very mellow feeling, no crazy high feeling or anything, haha, like a super gentle calm. They're definitely worth trying. Very delish. Chocolate emoji, skull emoji, twinkle emoji, send. Both their white and dark chocolate truffles are divine. So that's
Thank you guys for sending those in.
I love emojis. Keep sending emojis in, please. And you guys know I love emojis. You guys played my emoji guessing game before our podcast started. So thanks for sending those reviews in. Kristina, has that changed your mind at all in wanting to try these truffle chocolates?
I don't even like doing pot. No. Well, at first I said, yeah, I would try them, but I don't think I would. I'd be so fucking scared.
Me too. I told you about the one weed chocolate experience I had. No bueno. No
I
bueno.
don't like the nut control thing.
Same.
Dude, even doing any herbal stuff, I'm like I can feel when it hits and I'm like, uh-oh. My husband, has partaken in the past and like knows and like doesn't really give a shit, but I'm always like really embarrassed around him. And I'm like, he knows I'm high right now.
And definitely don't do that when you're hosting a dinner party, which is
right.
I lost my face halfway through my dinner. I have to go excuse myself.
Your legs just disappeared.
And then I lost my legs, and then I lost my arms, and I don't have any arms, but that doesn't keep me from dancing.
Very good.
Be careful with these guys. Just proceed with caution. That's all we're saying. What are we talking about today?
Well, this was your pick, right? So we've been like kind of like ping-ponging back and forth for quite a few episodes where we kind of reference this and then we're like, we're going to do that episode, right? Well, we're finally fucking doing it. We're talking about apples, apple magic and lore. And this reference initially just from the movie, Michael is struck and killed by a car while transporting a hand truck or dolly full of apple crates, right?
Yeah.
But then reading Practical Magic, Rules of Magic, Magic Lessons in Book of Magic, there's so many apple references that we're going to. I'm screaming it to my mic.
Yeah, you are. You're getting so jazzed right now. I love it.
There's
I've never
lots
seen
of apple
somebody get
references.
so excited about Apple.
It's a ton of information. So this
Yeah.
one might be a little juicy morsel of an episode.
I like what you did there. Juicy, like a juicy red
Juicy
apple.
What kind of apples do you like?
I think I like the galas.
Ugh.
Is it the galas? No. Or is it the what are they called? The Red Delicious? Is that what they're called? I don't remember.
Yeah, the real red ones.
Have you ever been apple picking?
Oh yeah, I used to work at an apple orchard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
There
You're
you
probably
go.
like apple picking. I'm sick of fucking apple picking.
Yeah, I like the
remember-
Fuji's and like the
Okay.
Pink Ladies and
Okay.
like a Honey Crisp, so like a sweet.
Honey Crisp. I think that's the one that I like.
a
I'm
Honey
not
Crisp.
I'm not up and up on my apple identifications, but then again, I never worked at an apple orchard, so you have one up on me.
I was also like 14 years old. I don't know. I just started. I eat an apple every day now because I'm trying to.
It keeps the doctor away.
It keeps doctor away, but I'm also slightly allergic to a certain kind, so I'm trying to weed out which variety it is. And so
Oh.
far, I'm good, but sometimes I get the itchy throat. Like the other day,
Oh no.
it was our last episode, right before we started recording.
Yeah.
Ate an avocado, immediate hives, and you were like, "Do you want to go take a Benadryl?"
Kristina's half of her face is like all puffy. She's marcoing me. I'm like, dude, you better take care of that.
You look like a hot mess.
You look like a hot potato.
Yep. So we have this is Justina's pick, and we're doing apple magic and lore. So
Yeah.
Here we go.
So just in brief, this is by Danny Reese. It's RHYS. This is from symbolsage.com, and she starts off, we'll get a little more into her article later on. She has like a whole article about the apples, but in brief, she says the apple is a versatile and complex fruit with several symbolic meanings. It can mean love, sin, knowledge, or sensuality. It remains one of the most symbolic of all fruits, with a prominent role in several belief systems and cultures. So we're going to talk about some of these meanings as well as all the magic and lore surrounding the apple. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about their place in the Practical Magic movie and the book series. They have more to do with the story than we might notice.
Awesome.
So let's start, I guess, with the movie. In the movie, green apples are a very prominent symbol, and I think they're associated with Michael, right? Because we see him stocking the apples at the market. We see that the green apple, he's carrying the green apples on his way to work on that fateful morning of his death when he's struck by the truck. We don't see the accident take place, but after the accident happens, the camera instead focuses on the crate of apples being struck, and they fly through the air. They hit the ground in slow motion, real dramatic. The apples are the last thing we see relating to Michael prior to his death. If you notice, earlier on, Michael can be seen carting these green apples in the scene where him and Sally first meet in the street. You can catch like a very small glimpse of like green in the crate. And you know he's carrying those fucking apples. And also the scene where Sally comes running to him with the dogs. Before he looks up and realizes that she's running to him, he can be seen stocking green apples.
Do you think he works at an apple orchard?
I don't know if he works on an apple orchard. He's a stock boy at the market, but his specialty just seems to be green apples. Like, you don't see him stocking any bananas, any pineapples, any like other colored apples. It's just green apples.
He reminds me of like not like a stock boy, but like the produce supplier, kind of like that character in Gilmore Girls. What the hell's that guy's name? Jackson, who has all the produce. He's like the produce man.
Yeah,
but you're right. He's only ever seen with the apples.
The green apples.
Yeah.
Only ever seen with green apples. And that scene where Sally is running to him, he's stocking the green apples, right? You could see the green apples in his hands and he's stocking them. But also behind him, there's a row of green apples just stocked up behind him.
How about that? I didn't notice that.
Just there.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to pull this up because I took a screenshot of it. I want to show you this. Look at that.
There they are. So what's he doing there? Why is he stocking green apples?
I don't know,
in
but
a different section.
I don't know, but look, he's got a green apple in his hand. So he's stocking apples where he is, but then there's also green apples behind him.
Very interesting. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Never noticed that.
I looked up green apples, and all the meanings, symbolism, and interpretations that I found online were all generally positive ones. Nothing I was finding was giving me meanings of foreboding. So perhaps the color of choice of apple in the movie was merely for aesthetic purposes, which I don't know. We wouldn't know. Like, I was wondering what was the deal about why were they green apples? Why weren't they like your typical red apple? You know,
Right.
That always just like made me
Griffin
wonder.
Dunn was like, give this man a cart and put some fruit in it. I don't give a shit what it is.
Yeah, I wonder if he was a Beatles fan. Griffin Dunn.
Is there a green? Oh, that's right. The album cover, right?
Yeah, that's their
Has an
logo.
apple on it?
The Beatles logo is the green apple.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Crazy, right?
So, see, that's the only thing that I guess the only real association that the apples have with the movie. And like, it's not even like Alice wrote a lot about apples in her very first book, which is what the movie was based off of. So I'm wondering, like, why were apples even a thing in the movie? You know, because they weren't really a part of the first book really at all.
Well, I wonder, like, because from what you said in one of the copies of the script, there was no fruit or produce or anything, you know, as his, I don't know.
Right.
And
That's
how do you film a death scene without making it graphic? You know, instead of having him, I mean, you see him like kind of just push himself backwards, but then I'm wondering if there's like a connection, because I'm sure later on we talk about, you know, Adam and Eve and like the negativeness, like with the apple, you see the apples falling and breaking and probably like the splintering of all the wood, you know, that's like the shattering of Sally's world basically. Behind that. That's how I would see it.
Yeah, so there are some apple mentions in the Practical Magic book, but not as excessive as like the last two books. Like the apple symbolism gets very heavy in the last two books, which we'll get into.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. Alice like tapped into the apple scenario and just like, I gotta go with it. I gotta double down on these apples. Every book you get more apples.
Yeah. She like hit book 3 and she was like, gotta write about apples now.
I got a craving.
I gotta do it. She was feeling a pull.
Yeah.
So in book 1, Practical Magic, page 67, this is a quote. So Sally is one of the few who stay up late in order to fix an apple tart, complete with her secret ingredients, black pepper and nutmeg, which she'll freeze and have ready to take to the block party on the 4th of July. And then page 76, it just re-references that block party. It just says she's got an apple tart she has to take to the 4th of July block party next weekend. So, you know, nothing major about apples, nothing really having to do with magic yet. There's a lot of talk in this book about apple trees, but not much regarding their use in magic. On page 15, apple pie is among some random words Gary scribbles on a piece of paper to pretend like he's taking notes. So it says, Gary nods and makes some notes, but the notes are just scribbles. Nothing but nonsense words. Ivory snow, he's written at the top of the page. Wolverine, apple pie. 2 + 2 = 4. Darling. He's jotting down anything in order to appear concentrated on official business. This way, Sally and her sister won't be able to look into his eyes and sense that he doesn't believe Jillian. So apple pie was amongst one of the random words he scribbled at the top of his paper, which is really weird. Isn't that weird that that was just a random word he scribbled on top of his paper when previously it was talking about Sally making the apple pie? Like those two are like kind of connected somehow, like he's on her wavelength. I don't know.
Yeah. So page 76, and then that apple pie thing is page 215. But I think like that reminds me of like apple pie is so fucking wholesome and like innocent in a way, in juxtaposition with the Eve eating the apple and like a poison apple from Disney. It's funny because you did say it in the very beginning, like it has so many different like connotations to it. It has the whole spectrum of what it means to different cultures and different people. Yeah. But like an apple pie is just like the most wholesome Americana thing in my mind. You know, George Washington and Johnny Appleseed and all that good stuff.
Yeah. And they corrupted the shit out of that wholesome image with the movie American Pie, because we all know what he does with that pie.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Oh man. All right. So yeah, we'll get into Johnny Appleseed a little later. I think he's
oh really? Okay.
He's in some of our notes down below.
Okay.
On page 253, the aunts had their schedule to which they kept to no matter what. They took their walk in the morning, then read and wrote in their journals, then had lunch. The same lunch every day. Mashed parsnips and potatoes, noodle pudding, and apple tart for dessert.
That sounds like a mushy ass lunch.
That sounds disgusting. Noodle pudding? What the fuck is noodle pudding? Page 269. Now, this is about a dream that Sally has about Gary. So it says, he's gone, and here she is thinking about him. Last night, she dreamed of the desert. She dreamed the aunts had sent her a cutting from an apple tree in their yard and that it bloomed without water. And in her dream, the horses that ate apples from that tree ran faster than all the others. And any man who took a bite from a pie Sally fixed with these apples was bound to be hers for life. So isn't that interesting?
Wow.
Mary was scribbling apple pie on that random piece of paper.
They're so connected. And you just had a dream last night about an apple tree.
I did have a dream last night about an apple tree.
And you said they were big and juicy and it was beautiful and you had just moved into like a new cottage.
It was like a blue cottage. It had like a little peak like this.
A little gable.
Little gable. And then it had like white columns and like corner piece ornamentation, like the wood scroll work and stuff like
Cornices.
that. It was cornices.
Trusses.
It was gorgeous. And then like it had this cute little wraparound porch. And then I remember just like looking at there was a tree in front of it. And as I look up at the tree, there were all these like beautiful, lush, big, juicy red apples. Just like
That's awesome.
all over this tree that sat right in front of this house.
Well, later on, I'll tell you what your dream about an apple tree means.
Ooh,
I haven't read it either, so it's going to be a surprise for both of us.
But like I woke up from that dream and I was like, I just want to go back. It was such a pretty house, pretty
Aw.
tree.
Aw.
Yeah. No, I was saying, you know that Radiohead song, Nice Dream? Is it Nice Dream?
I don't know.
Something Dream.
How's it go?
God, don't ask me to sing it. I'm just gonna sing Nice Dream. Nice
Okay.
dream. Nice dream.
I
That's
don't know
not
the
good.
song.
Are you a Radiohead fan?
Not really.
All right, then you probably wouldn't know the
But you know what? I'm going to learn all about it in our next WMSR.
song.
You
Oh.
can tell me all about it.
There you go. Look at that. We weren't even trying to sneak a song in here. And now we have a new song for our WMSR episode.
Wait, what's the name of it?
WMSR, Nice Dream.
Is it Just a Dream?
No, I think it's called Nice. I think the name of the song is Nice Dream.
So what song am I thinking of? Just a Dream.
That's me in the corner. Is that REM?
Yeah, Losing My Religion?
Yes.
Okay.
The spot, light, losing my
religion.
Get that out of our system. All right, let's go.
So
All
let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5. There are about 5 references of apples in Practical Magic. And then Rules of Magic, we have
picks
a
up a
little
little bit.
more.
Picks up a
Picks
little.
up a little bit.
Do you think this is intentional? Because by the last book, it's just exploding with fucking apples.
Is this an apple explosion?
It's like apple jizz everywhere.
But in Practical Magic, though, they don't have any connection to Michael in the book.
No,
It seems like. Okay.
no, they don't.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So in Rules of Magic, they don't show up until page 161.
And now
This is-
here's where it starts getting more into the magical uses, because in book one it was just baking. It was like in the dream, and that was it. There was like no mention of magical activity in book one regarding to apples. But Rules of Magic, here's where it starts getting a little more into the magic of the apples.
Right. And each like consecutive book like kind of amps up all the potions and the spells and the rituals and all that stuff. Whereas Practical Magic's like, besides like the aunts making soap, what other spells are they doing? Like nothing else really. And Irene, the drugstore girl who comes to the back door, they don't do spells almost at all. So in 161, it says amulets that carried apple seeds were made in the evening as they sat out in the yard, meant to bring the wearer love, for apples signify the heart. On page 237, it says, sometimes Franny packed her a lunch and left it on the kitchen table. A cucumber sandwich, some cookies, and a green apple.
There it is.
There it is.
But do you think Alice put in a green apple as a nod to the movie?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
We
Why
can
would
pretend.
Why would she say the color? That's a really specific and random thing to add to that.
But then she goes on and changes Michael's death later on anyway. You know what I mean? Him getting struck by lightning.
But it's still an Easter egg. It's still a nod to the movie, whether it has anything to do with his death in the books at all.
In a way. Yeah, I
don't know.
guess.
That's just me wanting to read into things and wanting things to connect.
That's cool. Let's go with it.
Trying to connect the dots here, Kristina.
You Sagittarius, you. So on page 238, it says there was an apple tree that Levi had told her about. He said he'd love to climb the tree and pick the crisp Macintosh apples, but now the bark of the tree was leathery and black. The boughs were twisted and bare. It hadn't bore fruit for years. Why was that? Did it say why this tree was dying?
So the Reverend cast down salt on the day when April Owens blundered in, aiming to pick some of his pie plate-sized roses. Now the rose bushes were bare and the leaves curled up. The only thing that grew here were daffodils, and Jet was surprised to see that there were hundreds of them. And there was an apple tree that that's the whole apple tree thing Levi had told her about.
So because the Reverend probably like sprinkled everything with salt, he destroyed messed up the ecosystem.
He destroyed everything.
Okay.
Yeah. What a fuck.
But he outlives both of the aunts, which is nuts.
He does. Do you think that's kind of his punishment? It's just living so long that he just watches everybody around that he loves die before him? That's kind of, don't you think that's kind of punishment?
But it didn't, I mean, yes, he was terrible to Jet, but like they made up, and like I think they were friends longer than they were enemies. What do you think?
I don't know, but I do know that Franny didn't give a fuck. She still hated him for treating them that way. So that's why the tree was leathery and black, because the Reverend fucked the
ecosystem.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then kind of right after this on page 249, it says, Franny packed a suitcase and took the bus to Massachusetts within the hour. Jet had packed her a lunch, a tomato sandwich, and a green apple, and a thermos of Travelwell tea composed of orange peel, black tea, mint, and rosemary.
There's the green apple again. There's the green apple.
I know.
It's gotta mean something. It's gotta mean something.
On page 291, and this is talking about Vincent, it says, he feared being caught for some ridiculous reason. A fan from Washington Square would recognize his face and bring attention to him in a public place. He'd forget to pay for an apple in a shop and be arrested and then found out. That's interesting that, like, of all things, like to steal.
Right.
It's very Aladdin.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
So on page 318, this is talking about the herbs that Jet is growing in the greenhouse. It says thorn apple, used for healing and for breaking hexes, but only in tiny amounts. Otherwise, death might result. So is thorn apple a name for another herb?
I don't know. I don't think it's an actual apple. Let's see.
What? No, yeah, I don't. It sounds like a AKA.
It kind of looks like, oh shit. No, listen to this. It's another name for Jimson weed.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
How about that?
Look at that.
We're going to do that. Is that on our list?
We're going to have to put that on the list.
Thorn apple,
aka Jimson weed, aka we all know it as the what Jimmy was selling to the kids that killed them in the book, right?
In the book. That's right.
Yeah. Jimson weed has nothing to do with the movie, just the first book.
It's all connected.
It's all connected.
And the last one from Rules of Magic is on page 335. It says, every morning she wrote a long letter to Halen. This is talking about Franny. She ate the same diet, noodles and an apple tart for dessert, or beans and toast and soup. Simple, practical things.
That's pretty much it for Rules of Magic. Here's where shit starts to get a little crazy. Okay, so now we're going back into Maria's origins, right? Magic Lessons is Maria's whole backstory. And this takes place back in, what was it, the 1600s?
24 references of apples in this book?
And it's even crazier in the last book.
Okay, buckle up.
Let's strap in here, because this is a wild ride. All right, so
I'm ready. Tell me about apples.
So page 5, right? Starting right off the bat here. Page 5, part of the tree, magic, herbs, and ingredients list. Apple is the key to magic and is used for medicine and love spells. So page 11, from that warm and cozy spot she watched Hannah scan the pages of her book filled with remedies and spells, careful to take note of the potions and powders that were prescribed, amulets of apple seeds and menstrual blood, doses of henbane that could bind a couple together, or if used to excess could cause delirium or death, the heart of a deer or a dove that brought about devotion, even the most feckless and untrustworthy of men, and fragrant verbena, which depending on its use and what the user desired could bring a man to you or cause him to be impotent. So it's just like, Hannah's going through the pages of the grimoire, and amulets of apple seeds is in there.
Also, this book is what we're starting with in our book club. And I'm realizing that this book has this is like her lists book. If you want a list, go to Magic Lessons.
I started a whole Evernote of just the lists from this book.
Oh my goodness.
Wouldn't that be cool if we made like a little mini grimoire with like just her
That'd be
stuff.
cool.
Yeah, maybe we'll throw it up on the Patreon if you guys want that.
Okay.
On page 12, another list. This list is the list of practical materials, and it lists apple for rebirth and immortality.
Interesting.
Yeah. Page 26, the amulet Hannah creates for Rebecca, which we know is Maria's biological mother. And this is a quote. It says, "In the morning, after a quiet night of sleep, their visitor was in better spirits. Hannah crafted an amulet of apple seeds. She then added mandrake, the heart of all love potions, first mentioned as such in Genesis, referred to as Circe's plant by the Greeks." And then on page 38, it says, "The Lachlan's had no cause to trust Rebecca," which the Lachlan's is the family that Rebecca is married into. And that isn't, she's running away from her husband when she goes to Hannah, right?
Yes. We talk about it later, but she had placed a spell on Tom Lachlan because he was like rich and powerful, but he's an asshole. So she is trying to get out of this long marriage.
Right.
And she's going to Hannah because she can't undo her own spell.
Right. And does she go to Hannah like knowing that Hannah unknowingly took her daughter in? Does she
I think
know?
so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forget. I read it like a couple months ago. So it says the Lachlan's had no cause to trust Rebecca, who had already planted the apple seeds from the amulet that Hannah had crafted, so that in time there would be an orchard where the variety of apple called everlasting brought true love to anyone who ate the fruit grown in this valley.
Delicious. That sounds
Yeah.
good.
I'm wondering, do you think, because didn't Samuel Diaz bring Maria like a bunch of trees from everywhere? I think he plucked a little piece of this everlasting apple tree from the Lachlan grounds.
That would be such a good connection.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever says, though, does it?
No, it doesn't say, but it's awesome to speculate. It's so cool to speculate that.
Yeah.
Page 65, she, Maria, walked along a path that was bordered by mangoes and Jamaican apple trees and brilliant flowering aloe vera speckled with yellow blooms. It was here she set Caden free, which is her bird. Page 70, Maria visited the sisters and brought them crisp red apples, an unusual fruit in this climate, for which she paid dearly. She told the sisters to prick the fruit with a needle as they said their husbands' names, then bake the apples into pies, which once devoured by the men would bring about kindness and a bit of consideration from the sour, ill-tempered sailors they'd wed. It's kind of like a be nice to me pie.
Like a honey jar, but it's a
Yeah.
apple honey jar.
Yeah. So if you guys have a douchebaggy husband, be sure to make him some of that pie. Maybe he'll be nice.
Or just leave them.
Or just leave him. That you could do that too. Page 87. They, which is referencing Maria and John Hathorne, they met beneath the Jamaican apple trees, which bore pear-shaped fruit with red skin and white flesh. I've never seen a Jamaican apple. Have you?
Mm-mm.
Jamaican apple look like? Let's see. Oh yeah, they're weird looking. Check that out.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah, it looks like an oversized pomegranate seed.
Wow, it does.
It's like a cross between an apple, a pear, and a pomegranate. It's so strange.
And almost like an avocado pit on the inside.
Yeah, that does look like it. Yeah, it looks like an apple avocado. Is basically
Apple
what-
avocado.
apple avocado. I like it. All right, so moving on to page 119. On Saturdays, there was bird's nest pudding made of cored apples and egg custard. Best of all were Sundays, when she fixed apple fritters, battered apples fried and coated with sugar and cider, or on special occasions, an apple pie, Faith's favorite.
Oh my God,
Let's
fuck
talk
me up
about-
with an apple fritter.
Yeah, so that's talking about all the baking that Maria does. Page 121. When the 8 lesser
I have a
charms.
question really quick. Since this is only on since we were just talking about the Jamaican apple on page 87, and then that was the apple thing that she was just talking about was on 119. Do you think she was usually she's probably still in Curacao? How do you say that? Curacao? Anyway, do you think she's using the Jamaican apples, or do you think she's using like a regular apple for apple pie?
I'm gonna say regular apples at this point because it says Faith's favorite, so Faith was already probably born and old enough to know what her favorite kinds of foods are.
Gotcha.
So she's already in Salem probably at this point.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So on page 121, when the 8 lesser charms had been tried and had met with failure, Maria turned to the 9th, which did no harm and could not force love, but instead gently invited it to walk through the door. And love potion number 9 is 9 ounces of red wine, 9 basil leaves, 9 rose petals, 9 cloves, 9 apple seeds, 9 anise seeds, 9 drops of vinegar. Combine all ingredients on the 9th hour of the 9th day of the month.
That
So
sounds
that's
so doable. Like I have all
right,
that shit.
right.
Not that I need love in my life, but
It sounds very practical, but when you're reading this book and it talks about invoking the ninth, like the ninth is basically a last resort to get somebody to freaking love you.
I know, which is
And
weird
it's
because it's like
unbreakable. It's unbreakable though.
it's a gentle, it instead gently invites it to walk through the door is what it says. It does not force love.
No, but like, isn't it? It's an impossible one to break though. Like you can't break this spell.
I don't know because they also talk about the love potion number 10, which is what Rebecca used.
Is that
on
the one?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's the 10th
I
one.
thought they talked about like invoking the ninth or whatever. The ninth.
I sense a numerology episode.
Or just an episode about the ninth. Or the spell or the spell numbers from this book. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about love potion number 9 in this book.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll talk about the love potion numbers on their own episode. So page 124, Maria brought the gentleman a bowl of her apple. How do you say this word? Pandowdy? Pandowdy. Her apple pandowdy, apples baked in a crust, a delicious end to his dinner. And when he thanked her, she asked if perhaps he might have heard of a man named John Hathorne. And this is in reference to Maria questioning a customer returning from London, who mentioned he was on his way home to Essex County, and because Maria knew that's where Hathorne was from. So once she caught wind that this guy was returning there, she was kind of trying to pick his brain with all the beautiful apple food she was trying to coerce him with. I don't think it worked. Page 134, the eternal torments of original sin had waited for mankind from the moment Adam ate the apple, which was handed to him by Eve, an act that proved to him and his brethren that women were spiritually inferior to men, weak with human frailty, sinful at their core. And this is when Maria finds Hathorne at his home. Yeah. On page 236, did you have something to add to that?
No, I had always heard, is a quince a kind of apple? Because I had always heard like the fruit in the garden that Eve actually ate and gave was a quince.
Huh.
Have you heard that before?
No.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should not get my information from movies.
Wait, what movie was that?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, wait, no, you're right. There's an article on flabs.com.
Labs. All right.
PH Labs, not Flabs.
Oh.
PHLabs.com. The title of the article, this is from 4 years ago. It says, the forbidden fruit may have been a quince. Here's what you should know. And it says, apparently, and this article is by Joy Stevenson Laws, JD founder. It says, apparently when Eve convinced Adam to eat the forbidden fruit, it may not have been an apple. Some sources say that the quince fruit actually predates the apple, and that all the ancient mentions like the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden were indeed referring to the quince. Some say it is one of the earliest known fruits. The quince fruit belongs to the rosacea plant family, along with apples, almonds, cherries, pears, raspberries, and strawberries. Reportedly, it is native to Caucasus, Transcaucasia, and Central Asia. And to be honest, quinces are not the best when consumed raw. They're too hard, too tart, too acidic, too sour, and too generally unpleasant in taste. Texture to eat raw, according to one source. But the good news is sufficient cooking, however, softens them and brings out the floral aroma they hold deep inside, along with a lovely sweetness that balances out their sour edge. Quince is often used to make jams and marmalades. You can poach it or bake it. And whether quince was the forbidden fruit or not, here's why it perhaps should not be a forbidden fruit for you. It may provide relief from nausea and vomiting, and that is associated with pregnancy. So it goes into like a whole bunch of stuff about pregnancy.
How about that?
Blah, blah.
I knew a fact.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, it's not a fact because it's like it could have been. It might be.
But it doesn't really go into too much about like why they believe the quince was the fruit. But it looks more like a pear. It doesn't really look like an apple.
Open. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
It does look like a pear.
Yeah.
Wow.
We just learned something new. Well, you already knew it. I learned something new. I just confirmed it for you.
Thank you. You're my fact checker.
Yeah. Where are we at here? Okay, so page 236. It says, Maria soon made her way to the fruit vendor, but before she could choose any of the produce, he handed her a satchel. Sir, Maria said, surprised by his foreignness, I don't yet know what I want. It doesn't matter. She knows. He nodded in the direction in which the woman had disappeared. The vendor looked sheepish, but when a witch suggested you do something, it was best to comply. Inside the satchel were 10 apples, already paid for, shiny red. She said to bake a pie. Did she? Despite herself, Maria smiled. Someone had seen her for who she was. Most likely a sister in the nameless art. And I'm pretty sure that's talking about the Durant. What's her name? Catherine Durant?
Yeah, I think Catherine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's referring to her. Yeah, I feel like she hangs around that market like all the time, just like scoping shit out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? She always just like slides out of a dark alleyway, like, here, you want this.
Yeah. And she's supposed to bake a pie to call Faith home, right? And that's what this next part is.
Yeah. So this whole passage is basically about her trying to get Faith, I guess, to come home and the spell she's supposed to do with this pie. So it says, she said you wouldn't regret it, and to bake one every week and set it on your windowsill. If this was magic, it was made of simple, practical stuff. All the same, Maria went home and cut up the apples, then made a crust. She rolled out the dough, and when she added the apples to the mix, the white slices turned crimson. Perhaps the fruit was not as ordinary as she had first thought. She felt her hopes rise as the pie baked in the brick oven beside the fireplace as she sent a message to Faith, wherever she might be. Do what you must until we are together again, but never believe a word she tells you. And this is referring to the woman who actually kidnaps her, right? She kidnaps her because she wants a daughter. She can never have a daughter, and she basically kidnapped Faith from Maria. Believe only in yourself. You are my daughter and mine alone, whether we are together or apart. When the pie was done, Maria let it cool on the windowsill. It sat there, red as a heart, the crust brown, perfectly done. From then on, she baked a pie each and every week with apples that turned from white to red. People passing by sniffed the fragrant air and were reminded of home, and many longed to find their way back to their loved ones. That was all Maria wished for. That was all she wanted in the world, to look out her window and see her darling girl, to have her walk up the stone path and fling open the door. I like how she threw in the darling girl in there.
Me too. My mouth is watering.
Love it.
Right now.
Yeah, sounds like a good pie. And then page 248, this is where it kind of mentions apples, using apples as currency.
Okay.
It says, for her services, Faith was paid whatever a client might have. A bag of apples, forks and spoons, coins, pies, and once she was granted a pair of heavy black stockings. The payment didn't matter.
Bartering.
Yeah.
Tradesies.
That's what they did back in the day.
You give me cookie, give you cookie.
All right, so page 267, it says, one morning Faith awoke to the scent of apple pie, the fragrance so strong she could have sworn that her mother was in the kitchen baking her favorite treat. And I guess this was like, maybe she was still away, maybe she like felt the call of her mom, she smelt that pie. Maria kind of sending out the message and summoning Faith, and this is kind of Faith accepting or realizing that message that she needs to get home to her mom. I guess what that's referencing. Page 268, it says, she sat on the floor of her room, a prisoner, and yet even with the window nailed shut, she imagined the scent of apple pie made with cinnamon and brown sugar, a treat her mother would make especially for her on every birthday. Her true mother, the mother she had lost, the one who told her always to be true to herself, even if she had to hide that truth from others. Essex County came rushing back to her due to the scent of apples. She imagined the woods where the ferns grew so tall and the bottomless lake, and the serpent that would eat bread from her hand. She recalled her mother's voice singing her to sleep, and the doll the man named Goat had made for her, and the wolf who had slept beside her bed, and her own natural red hair before it was dyed with bark and ink. She remembered the woman who came to the door at night, and the tonics and spells her mother created for them, often asking nothing in return. Apples were used in many of these charms. The seeds, worn in an amulet, or a red apple itself, pricked with a needle, while the name of one's beloved was repeated. A woman was then to sleep with the apple under her pallet, make a pie out of it, and feed it to the one she loved. Faith remembered the book in which everything she needed to know had already been written. Page 271, it says, the air still smelled like apples, though there was not a single such tree in all of town, and Faith was aching to leave. She knew she was being called home. She thought of her mother's clear gray eyes and the song she had sung. So she still smelled those apples. She needed to get home. On page 285, despite the strong aroma of coffee, it was still possible to smell apples, even here by the riverside, as if the scent of the pie Maria had baked that morning had reached this far and made people's mouths water. So Maria's magical baking skills are on point.
Uh-huh.
We have a handful left here. Do you want to take some of these? Page 290.
Sure. So on page 294, it says, she wasn't sure she could love anyone, not even her own mother, who could not do enough for her, baking apple pies, ordering new clothes from the dressmaker, reaching for her hand every time Faith was near. So I guess this is when Faith comes back and Maria is like, just stoked she's home and like doesn't want to let her go. But Faith is a little distracted. She's like secretly doing left-handed magic and stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So this on 296, this is kind of reminiscent of the movie here. It says, often Faith sat on the stairs, listening in when women came to see her mother to ask her for charms and cures. Maria avoided love as best she could, but when women came crying, when they felt they had been destroyed, she gave in. One of these remedies is, for love to last, one must wear an amulet with apple seeds. So,
And that reminded me. I put reminiscent of the movie because when it said often Faith sat on the stairs listening in when women came to see her, what the woman asked her mother for charms. It reminded me of the scene when Jillian and Sally are sitting on the stairs and the aunts are kind of tending to that customer with the bird, and it reminded me of that whole scene.
I remember when I was a kid, we went to visit my grandmother in the Tudor house. I don't think I'm making this up. It was like Christmas time or something. And they put all of us kids to bed, and it had like a switchback staircase, and I could hear people showing up, and I could like see like the snow blowing in the door and stuff like, but I sat at the top of the stairs and I like dangled my legs through the railing to like watch everybody come in and like have cocktails and stuff. I don't know if I'm making this up, but my little brain remembers it really well.
Dude, I have vivid memories of, I used to live upstairs from my grandparents growing up until I was like 8. It was like a 2-family house. We were on the very top floor. Then the floor beneath us was my grandparents' apartment. And then the basement was where everybody it was a kitchen. Everybody just joined there for parties. And I remember like hearing conversations like from my bed all the way up on the top floor, like coming up through the vents. And like and sometimes I would just like sit on the stairs and just like peek in on the party. My grandparents were partiers back in the day. Like they were always freaking partying. They always had people over.
Was that Grandma Joan?
No, it wasn't Grandma Joan. It was actually my dad's parents. So my nonna and my nonno. Oh yeah, they had their Italian friends come over, and all the conversations were in Italian. I couldn't fucking understand shit. Aww. But it was just like so much fun to just like peek in on the party. And everybody smoked back in the day, so the smoke would like come up through the vents. And like try sleeping as like a
nicotine filling it.
5-year-old just trying to sleep through cigarette smoke. Oh my god.
Yeah. But I remember that very like as a kid, you just I want to know. I don't want to be involved necessarily. I just want to know what the adults are doing.
Yeah, man. It's like that.
Why am I not invited?
Yeah, it's a forbidden event that you just want.
No, it's that fruit.
Right. Yeah. You just want to be part of something you're not necessarily supposed to even be seeing.
That's right. Hey, that's witchcraft right there. Right. That's the witchcraft tagline.
Yeah.
On page 345, this is talking about John Hathorne. And it says, he had once been a man who had dived into the water fully clothed, who had stood in the moonlight to pick apples from a tree in the courtyard. When she asked him why he had abandoned her, he merely said, people change. Fuck this guy.
Yeah, he's a douche.
People change. Actually, there's a really good Dwight Yoakam song called Baby Things Change. Dude, it's kind of like that.
He's like the new Celine Dion and Billy Zane. He just keeps creeping his way back into this podcast.
Isn't baby things change? Let's keep going. We got a ton of these. So where are we at? Where are we at? Page 346. The remedy Maria uses to stave off Samuel's fever and bone pain. And that's called break bone fever or something like that.
That's what it's called. Yeah, I couldn't remember the name of it, and I couldn't remember the name of it to search it in the so I couldn't find the name, but
so you are to wet washcloths with apple cider vinegar, basil tea with ginger, fishbone broth, all simple enough, but most important was the use of the tawa tea. So that was a remedy she used to help his pain, right?
There you go, that apple cider vinegar we were talking about before.
Right.
Well, not on this episode. I don't think we talked about it yet on this episode, but me and you were having a conversation about it, right? How apple cider vinegar just like is the cure-all for everything.
It's going to be at the very end. There's a little
Yeah.
list I have, but so you can also amend your soil. If your soil is not acidic enough, you can add a little apple cider vinegar into your soil to give it that acidity.
Go.
Boom.
Dude, maybe they should have like used apple cider vinegar to bring back all the fucking trees that Reverend killed.
Yeah, what the hell?
Pouring salt all over the fucking ground. What a dumbass. All right.
On page 353, it says the pie Faith makes for Hathorn. This is how she makes it. She had risen from her sleep while it was dark, so she could bake an apple pandowdy, a crusty pastry perfect for afternoon tea. Apples were used in love charms, but also in spells of remembrance. For that purpose, she had also added rosemary, an entire sprig. Ooh, that's a lot. Ooh, finely chopped. Let
Yeah.
him recall his actions against them. Let him be haunted by them. Let him repent. What the hell is that Fleetwood Mac song? You'll
Which one?
never get away from the sound of the woman that loves
Oh,
you.
Silver Springs is my favorite song ever.
I love that.
I
That's
love
what that
that
reminds me
song.
of. Yeah.
I love that song so much.
Let him repent. This was why she had come all this way to face him and damn him, so that he would be the one pleading for mercy for once in his life.
I
Ooh.
just have to go back to that Fleetwood Mac thing real quick. So, do you remember the VH1 concert that they did in like the 90s? I think it was called The Dance, but basically like Fleetwood Mac was like, I guess, regrouped for that concert for VH1.
Okay.
And they did that song. And I don't know if this is just in my mind or if I'm making this up, but I think I remember like Stevie just like the way she looks at Lindsay while she's singing those lines.
She is
I'm just-
casting a spell on
I'm
him.
just like, ooh, that is
Yeah.
such a spell right now. And that's like,
I know the clip you're talking about because it's been
Yeah.
going around on TikTok lately.
he will forever be haunted by that song, and she says so in that song. Like he'll always be haunted by that fucking song.
By the sound of the woman that loves you.
Exactly.
Ah, it's so
Yeah.
good.
Witchcraft.
So the
Even if
last
it's
entry
bitch.
from that rules, this is Magic Lessons. It says on page 387, at the rear of the large garden, there was a small orchard of fruit trees, plum, peach, pear, and several varieties of apple, all having been set in the earth in the dark of the moon.
Yeah. Do you think it's the garden that Samuel brings like all the trees back from all over the world so
I think so.
Carubia can make her garden?
I'll be right back. I gotta get it.
All right.
My eyes are like glazing.
It's cold in here. There must be some
some
Stinas in
love
the atmosphere. I said, "Burr."
Burr.
It's cold in here.
I forgot to comment. I didn't know you were a gymnast slash cheerleader. Very interesting.
You didn't know that?
Woo! I did not know that.
I know, because I'm doing backflips all the friggin' time these days. Not like, why would you know that?
I don't know. All right.
Yeah, I used to be all of those things. I used to be a dancer, romancer. I'm a Capricorn, you're a
You're
Cancer.
Cancer.
All right, now you really need to strap in here because this is a lot. This is from the very last book of Magic.
Yeah, forget that regular seatbelt. You need that 5-point whatever strap in, strap on. Everybody get ready.
Yeah, you need that crash test dummy bullshit. So
Alice really, like we said, doubled down in this last book with the apples.
she's like, oh shit, this is the last book. I need to throw all the apples in this book.
Right. So we're going to get through these and then we'll let y'all take a little break. And then after, what do we have for after? We have like the medicinal stuff, folklore, magic.
Yeah.
All right.
All the deep dives. So all of these Apple references, these are from the last book, the Book of Magic, and as we know, this is the book where a lot of stuff happens. That I don't know. Should we spoil anything?
Yeah.
Should we spoil shit at this point?
Yeah.
All right, you've been warned.
If you want to skip ahead, just skip past the break and go to the next thing if you don't want to hear this.
Yeah. So if you have not read Book of Magic, go do that and come back and listen to this after. The curse is still running rampant, going strong. Kylie's boyfriend, Gideon, gets into an accident. He's in very bad condition. So Kylie, in order to save Gideon, she's like, I'm going to break this curse. Oh, and by the way, Sally, up until this point, the girls are like, what? Late teens, early 20s at this point. They still have no idea about their magical lineage.
Dude, this is a whole thing. Like, plus the curse. Like, oh, our family's kind of weird. We're not witches. You're crying black tears. You gotta go to the doctor.
They never have questions. So yeah, I guess Kylie doesn't like really put two and two together until they're at Jet's funeral, right?
Right.
Like one of their ancestors told them or one of her family members told her about.
Yeah,
something.
one of the aunts was giving some portion of the eulogy and kind of let things slip out and kind of give the girls a hint that there was something up with their family.
Yeah.
And then Sally's like, "The fuck you just say?"
Yeah, Sally tries to like play it off like it's no big deal. NBD. So then Kylie's like, I need to fix this. I'm breaking this curse once and for all. So Kylie is the only one in this family that has a big pair of balls, and she decides to just friggin' leave. She goes to Essex, the original Essex,
Right.
where ancestors, Maria, Rebecca, Hannah, everybody, all up in there. The Lachlan's. She's all mixed up in this mess now. She's trying to fucking break this curse. I guess Sally, Jilly, Franny, they meet back up with Vincent, and they're trying to find Kylie the entire time. Meanwhile, Antonia is pregnant.
Pergananant.
What?
Pergananant. Pregnant.
Pergananant, yeah. Antonia's Pergananant, and she's forming this relationship with the family's lawyer. What was her name? Ariel. And the Reverend is still kicking in this book, mind you.
Yeah, all the way to the end.
All the way till the end.
All the way to the end.
So that's just to give you a little rundown of, I guess, the happenings in this book if you have not read it yet.
Right, because we're going to be throwing out some character names that probably weren't mentioned before.
Yes, exactly.
So you know kind of who's the who's.
Yeah, and then I also forgot to mention Ian, which is Sally's Sally's new love interest.
Remember that Hurricane Ian?
Oh my God, that was like Hurricane Ian's ago.
Hurricane Ian's ago.
You set me up for that joke.
All right, let's do this.
Let's do it. Let's jump right in. So page 30, it says, in tall glass jars in the pantry, there was mandrake, belladonna, mushrooms of all sorts, blue beads, black feathers, apple seeds, the hollow bones of birds, and dove's hearts. The rush lasted until 5, and by the time it was through, most of the daffodils had been trampled by people who wanted to make certain they got their turn bringing their problems to Jet. So this is basically like Jet is like taking orders before, you know, she shits the bed. She's like,
Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's her last hurrah, like taking care of her last clients who need her. And the daffodils right now, what's January 12th? My daffodils are coming up. Like not budding or anything. Aaron likes to call them daffodildos.
What? Daffodil bows?
No, daffodildos.
Oh, daffodildos.
So they're coming up right now. I'm like, the hell are you guys doing out so early?
Damn. I know the snowdrops are like a big thing. Like February 2nd, snowdrops are like the official flower of Imbolc.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't think that we have snowdrops up in this area. I don't know. I've never seen a snowdrop in real life.
I don't think I have either. No, I don't think so. This actually comes out right after Imbolc. Comes out like the 3rd or something. So happy Imbolc, everybody. Candlemas.
There you go.
Go listen to the band group Candlemas if you really want some good Swedish metal.
And go make your bridges crosses.
Yeah.
So page 31. When they were through with the house, the woodwork shone and the cobwebs were all swept away with the broom. They had a picnic lunch that included splurging on all of their favorite childhood foods, which were too rich for them now. Jam sandwiches, scones with lavender honey, cheese and chive biscuits, and sliced apples with cream. Page 79. People went through the cemetery gates to leave tokens of their respect on Jet's grave. Apples was the first thing mentioned that they left on her grave. Mint, sage, blue ribbons, photographs of babies who had grown up to be men and women because of Jet's tonics, wedding pictures of those who had found love after knocking at her door. So that's interesting. They left apples on her grave.
Very sweet.
Yeah. Page 262. Beside the manor house was an orchard of apple trees, a variety the locals called witchery, that Rebecca Lachlan had planted from the seeds in an amulet given to her by Hannah Owens when she tried to break the love spell she'd set upon her husband. Soon the trees would bloom with pink and white flowers. Only a few remained, for Tom had been chopping them down, using the fragrant logs as firewood that fueled the massive fireplace in the great room. So now this is talking about the Lachlan Manor back in Essex in the UK, right?
And Tom is the descendant of the original Thomas Lachlan, who was Rebecca's husband.
And equally or even more douchey than the original.
Oh, yeah.
So page 263. A group of hikers had reached the house and approached the threshold. They saw smoke billowing from the huge brick chimney and stood back. There were those who said only bad luck could be found here, and the hikers had the shivers. All the same, they laughed as they ran off, making sure to break off twigs from the apple trees that were said to be enchanted, which indeed later bloomed in their hands when they at last reached the road.
Whoa.
I don't remember what that was in reference to. It might have been the Lachlan Manor.
Yes.
Okay, so page 270 to 271, it says, "Everyone went to look for my sister," Antonia said, thinking it was too complicated to say much more, only adding, "She's missing." "Then you make an apple pie." Oh, this is when Antonia goes to visit the Reverend, because she kind of promises to keep visiting the Reverend because Franny refused to. So
and Franny went with them to Essex, so she couldn't do it.
Right, but initially, when Jet was kind of not on her deathbed, but when she was expected to die, didn't Jet ask Francis to take care of that responsibility for her? And Francis was like, "I ain't going to visit that guy."
I don't remember her ever saying that she wouldn't do it, but yeah, I don't think she ever went to see him.
She was very begrudgingly, she was just very hesitant about it. So then Antonia kind of took over. Yeah, because Franny was in Essex kind of taking care of business, looking for Kylie. So Antonia went to visit the Reverend. And then the Reverend, when he found out that Antonia's sister Kylie was missing or ran away, the Reverend tells her that she should make an apple pie. So the Reverend Willard suggested, so he suggested that. And when Antonia seemed baffled, he went on to explain. "Jet said that was how you found a lost daughter. You baked an apple pie." And Antonia says, "She told you that?" And he said, "Apple pie is one of my favorites." So then Antonia, she goes into her kitchen. She looks through cookbooks. Some of them so old their pages were taped to stop the paper from crumbling. Wow. 2 from the 17th century, although one of those was not quite a book, but rather a handwritten journal belonging to Maria Owens, featuring dishes like hedgehog pudding, Indian pudding, plum pudding, and something that was called bird's nest pudding, made with cored apples and custard. This was the book that appealed to Antonia. She thumbed through the pages and indeed came to a recipe called Lost Daughter's Pie. In small flowing script were the instructions for the crust, made with butter and water and fine flour, and the filling, apples, cinnamon, and lemon if available, and pats of butter. Bake, place on a windowsill, and she will come back to you. Antonia rummaged through the kitchen and found what items were available. Yes, there were apples. Last year's winter apples, stored in the cabinet, wrinkled and small, but apples all the same. And a lemon, and a block of yellow butter in the fridge. Apples were said to be the food of love, as well as the food of the dead, of shades and spirits that went unseen. It was the fruit that could call to those who couldn't hear any other sound. Antonia hadn't time to fix a crust, but luckily there were some packets of saltine crackers in the back of the pantry.
Ew.
What? Saltine crackers in the back of the pantry cabinet, and she used them to line the pie plate, then made the filling, going a little too heavy on the cinnamon, she feared. She did the baking in the newer oven rather than the old wood stove, turned on the timer, then took the opportunity to have a nap on the window seat on the staircase, which had always been a cherished spot to curl up and read. When she woke, the scent of apples and spice filled the air, and she blinked back tears. It was totally illogical to think that a pie made on one side of the Atlantic would call to a person on the other side. Still, you never knew the effects that might be caused by one small action halfway across the world. It's the butterfly effect.
Yeah, for sure.
She took the pie and walked back to the Reverend's. Antonia grabbed a plate along with a knife and a fork. The Reverend was already in bed, mortified to be seen in his robe. "I thought you disappeared, Annie," he said accusingly. I went home and made the pie." Antonia cut him a small slice. How does this bring my sister home? She'll know it was made with love and she'll find you."
I thought they were supposed to put it on the windowsill.
Right? Now she's just letting him eat it.
Yeah. A saltine crust.
Ew. Sounds horrible. So she said, "Jet told you this? You're sure?" And he says, "She said love was the most important ingredient. The pie had been made with love. That much was true." Antonia, terrible cook and level-headed medical student, would do anything she could to locate her sister. She tried the pie and found it wasn't half bad. In her 9th month, she was hungry all the time because she was pregnant at this point. It says, on the drive home, Antonia kept the car windows open. The pie sat on the passenger seat, in danger of falling each time she stepped on the brakes. Oh, how Antonio
Vendettas.
Oh how Antonia missed her sister. How she worried that she would be lost to her forever. She breathed deeply, remembering when they would pluck apples from the trees in their aunt's garden, where there was an orchard of a variety called Look No Further. Home, Antonio. And why do I keep saying Antonio? Home. Home, Antonia thought, and for all her logic, she nearly cried right then. That was when her phone rang. That was when Kylie called her.
That's right.
Yeah. So it worked. It must have worked.
Yep.
Old pie. That old apple pie trick.
Classic Alice.
Classic Alice. Page 280. It says, what was left of the apple pie was in the car. Could it be that was why Kylie had phoned? Page 283. There were those in the Owens family who were finders, and she was one, rescuing scores of missing daughters. People said she baked an apple pie every week, sat out on her windowsill to cool, and that those children she hadn't managed to locate found their own way home, often in the middle of the night, knocking at their own doors and crying out for their mothers. I forget who they were.
I think they're talking about Faith.
Okay. Page 283 also, it says, let her know where you are so she can find you. Antonia told her mother, bake an apple pie and put it in the window. And Sally goes, here? We're at an inn. Why a pie? Antonia says, it's Jet's advice. The Reverend told me. I made one myself and she phoned me less than an hour later. Page 284. Jet told him about a lost daughter spell. Make the pie. When they hung up, Sally went down the hall and told her sister they had to bake a pie. Jillian slipped on her toes and said, what are we waiting for?
Wait, slipped on her shoes.
Oh! Is it? When slipped on her toes? She slipped on her toes. She was tiptoeing around the eggshells. Jillian slipped on her shoes and said, what are we waiting for? No questions were asked. Dude, I love how Jillian's such a ride or die. She's like, you need to make a pie? Let's make the damn pie.
Let's do it. I don't give a shit why we're doing this thing because I'm a Sagittarius.
Yeah. No questions were asked. That was one of the many things Sally had come to appreciate about her sister. She didn't have to know every detail before she jumped in to help. They went down to the kitchen in their nightgowns. There was a bin of apples and a canister of flour in the cabinet, and pie plates in the burrow. Sally could make quite a good crust. You mean she didn't use saltines from a year ago?
Yeah, I think I feel like anything's better than a saltine crust.
She can make quite a good crust. She liked to add rosemary, and although the pub's kitchen was basic, she found a good amount of that fragrant herb in a tin on the counter, along with cinnamon and nutmeg.
Real quick, have you ever had an apple dish with rosemary in it?
No, I don't believe so.
I mean, like a simmer pot, yes, but I don't think I've ever had like those two flavors together.
Right. I've usually reserved rosemary for like poultry dishes.
Or like more savory things.
Yeah, and stews. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but never, I don't think ever any kind of sweet baking.
thing.
Yeah. So when they cut up the apples, the flesh of the fruit turned from white to red, just like they did for Maria when she was making the pie for Faith, right?
That's right.
Just as some roses do, with pale buds turning scarlet once fully opened. It was not an ordinary pie. It was baked with love to call a daughter home. They had tea while the pie baked. Courage, which Franny had brought along. When the cook came at daybreak, a fellow named Lester, he would be surprised to find them sitting there in their nightgowns, sharing a plate of buttered toast, with the pie already cooling on the windowsill, so that people in the village awoke, thinking they were young again, and many came outside in their nightclothes to stand in their gardens and watch the morning sky lighten, for it was a beautiful day without a sign of the rain to come.
Oh,
that's a pretty passage. Page 290. Now we're getting into Ian, right? The Ian character. So Ian brought this information to the inn later in the morning for the Owens family to see. I don't remember what information this is referring to, but it says the air smelled sweet and reminded him of picking apples when he was a boy, the sweet tasting variety called witchery, a fruit that only grew out by Lachlan Manor. So I think he knew Tom Lachlan from like back in the day, right? I think it mentions that like they have somewhat of a past.
It's funny that he ends up with Sally and the antagonist have a connection in this story when in Practical Magic, Sally and Gary has a connection with the antagonist in that story.
Oh shit.
How about that?
They go way back. Apples.
How about the apples? All right, Matt Damon.
I love it. All right, so page 338. The spell, quote, is apple for love. It's among the words Franny copies into the notebook from the grimoire before destroying it. Newsflash, spoiler, Franny destroys the grimoire and she like offs herself, right? To break the curse.
Yes, she completes
Officially.
suicide.
Yeah, she destroys the grimoire, but she copies everything over into another book before destroying the grimoire. So in essence, is it really destroyed?
There's no like library close by that she could just go Xerox that shit.
Yeah, why did she copy everything by hand?
I don't know.
And also, Alice makes it sound like she copied this thing over in just like a couple hours,
Like an evening.
like one night.
Mm-hmm.
But like, think about me and you, how long it takes us to like just copy and paste stuff over from articles already written into an Evernote document. That shit takes
days.
Like it takes us like days and weeks to write notes for an episode. And Franny's just like handwriting an entire like, I don't know, centuries worth of information from this grimoire. I don't buy it.
I don't know about it.
Maybe she used magic to help her write faster. I don't know.
When I was in grade school, somebody told me if I wanted to read faster, like silently in my mind, to press my tongue up against the roof of my mouth. And I was doing that. And I was like, oh, I am reading faster. And I told the person, I was like, hey, your trick worked. And she was like, I was kidding. I was like, you fucking bitch.
Kristina, it's called the placebo effect.
I know. So it actually works.
So it does work if you believe it works.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a Tinkerbell spell. If you believe, clap if you believe.
Oh, a Tinkerbell spell. I've never heard of that.
Last one. Here we go. Page 368. The color red had come back to her slowly. First in Ian's flat. Oh, this is regarding Sally, right? When she's able to see red again.
Yes.
The color red had come back to her slowly, first in Ian's flat on the day she met him, in flashes of rose and scarlet, until one day she was cutting an apple for them to share, and the color was so brilliant that she burst into tears. Red, after all, was the color of love.
There it is. And
There
she stopped seeing red because it was like the color of the stop sign that the kids in the first book blew through and killed Michael, I guess, right?
Is that why she stopped seeing red? I forget.
Right. And then, interestingly, red is like one of the first colors you see as a baby. You know? So it's interesting.
That is interesting.
That's it. That's all I got.
Well, Stella gets her groove back here. All right. She's seeing red again. She's in love again. Her and Ian are able to get married without having to worry about this curse looming over them because Franny Franny took one for the team. Okay.
Mm-hmm. True ride or die, man.
Right. True ride or die. But like thinking about this line about, this last part, where, her and Ian are together, she's seeing red again, blah, blah, blah. She's bald at this point, right? She doesn't have any more magic. That was kind of like her own sacrifice.
So guys, we're going to take a little short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the history, symbolism, and the meanings from different cultures and the appearances of apples in pop culture itself. So we will be right back. You're listening to the Magnolia Street Podcast.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to the apple orchard. Coming at you live from the apple orchard on Magnolia Street.
I want an apple tree.
I want an orchard.
Do you? What kind of orchard?
An apple orchard.
Oh.
Or an orange orchard.
An orange orchard? I want an olive orchard.
Ooh, dude, Sicily, when I went there when I was like 16, we went to visit family. My dad's uncle, he had an orange orchard, and also he had many olive trees on his property.
And they all that olive oil.
Dude, they took down, like, they harvested olives when we were there, and they pressed the olive oil, and we took back this was back before 9/11. You could pack liquids in your carry-ons back then.
Oh, damn.
And we took back like pounds of olive oil, like gallons of olive oil in our carry-on suitcase.
Oh, avocado orchard. Oh, damn.
Just an orchard. Just something about an orchard. So pretty. So pretty.
So thanks for sticking around, guys. Now for some more, for the actual scientific shit and all the history and folklore. We're going to get to that shortly. But first, in true Magnolia Street fashion, we have a card pull to do from the Inner Witch Oracle deck by Grounded by the Moon. Do you have your deck ready?
No, I got to get it. Hold on.
Okay. Okay.
I'm so sore. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that in. Justina and I have challenged ourselves for a healthier new year to we don't live in the same place, but like just mark each other and say, hey, we're doing a yoga, we're doing a stretch, we're doing a workout. And then it kind of is like a little competition. It motivates the other person to get moving, get healthy. So we're a little sore.
Get that
but we're gonna be so jacked. Oh, we're gonna be like Sarah Connor in Terminator. We're gonna be like Tomb Raider. We're gonna be like
Lara Croft.
Yeah.
My girl. Here's the thing. Me and Kristina both have weddings in April, so we can't be showing up to these weddings. One of my weddings is a cruise, so I can't be showing up on this cruise looking like a sack of potatoes in a bathing suit.
You're gonna feel good. You're gonna feel good about yourself.
Yes, that's the main goal. I just want to feel good, want to feel confident.
You got to stick with it, right? And if you don't see immediate changes or you don't see the amount of changes, just the confidence you get of knowing you stuck with something that long and it like released all those endorphins for however many months. What are we looking at? April? Like you're gonna just feel good. Like I feel great.
Yeah. And you even brought this up. Like it's also just great for your mental health in general. Just putting you in that mindset, like that positive space, you know?
Indeed.
Not to get too hung up on numbers or caloric intake.
Yeah, like, calories or weight numbers or anything.
I'm trying not to even pay attention to any of that. I'm just exercising, eating better, and just trying to just be on a better routine this year. All right, I got my cards here.
Shuffle them up, baby.
Don't believe there's an Apple card in here, but we'll see what we thought. All right.
Okay.
So let me know when I should stop.
Okay. That's cool.
Ooh, fire element. The mantra or the keyword on this card is take action.
Okay.
So this says take action, and then also on top it says passions. So the element of fire invites you to take action. Inspired from the Tarot Suit of Wands, fire encourages you to embrace your passions. Holding a message of excitement, this card can also represent a new spark of creativity or inspiration coming into your life. When fire comes into a reading, don't sit idly by. Reignite the flame that lies within. This is your driving force. Feed your fire, follow your passions to keep your flame burning as bright as possible. To embrace fire, try fire scrying. Ground yourself and looking into a flame and interpret what the element brings to sight. You can also use the energy of the card itself to help enhance your connection. And the mantra on here is I ignite with the fire.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of inspiration for you if you feel like you're lacking a little bit of inspiration and I guess the drive to do things and to manifest things right now and put wheels into motion to make things happen. I know a lot of us are feeling really lazy right now. It's wintertime.
For sure.
We might feel like there's a little less pep in our step to get stuff done. It's gloom and doom in New Jersey. Like it's been so gloomy here recently.
I know, I've been blowing you up like I have the sads. I have like such a hard time this time of year, and then you remind me in your most loving Sagittarian way of like, we need this. We need this time of year.
Yeah, because like honestly, right now is a great time for introspection, any kind of personal work. And again, like we're working out because what do they say? Summer bodies are made in the winter. like now is the time to like, get into your routines, better yourself mentally, spiritually, physically, like take the time now to like, do all the work. So when
this is the time for planning out the seeds, that you're going to sow later in the summer.
Exactly. Literally. Yeah. Not only metaphorically, but literally as well.
Exactly. And I want to say, if you want some inspiration for like doing a little shadow work during this darker half of the year, Justina hosts monthly full moon tea parties over through her Patreon and Facebook.
I do.
So, and you do like a lot of journaling exercises and tarot stuff for kind of digging into that darker side of things, especially during this time of the year, and how to combat a little of it. God damn, a little of that.
A little bit of that. No, it's great to gather with, it's always a very small and private, intimate group, and nobody is ever forced to share anything that they write in their journals. I mean, it's completely optional. If you want to share, it's, if you want to get something off your chest, we're all there to listen and be of support. And it's just a nice little healing circle. And we do it once a month. So head on over to my Bohemian Magic Patreon if you want to get involved. I'm trying to get Kristina to come to one, but she's asleep by like 5 p.m. So
Y'all don't start till 10 o'clock Eastern
Dude.
time. It's late for me. I've been asleep for 2 hours.
we're moon bathing. It has to be at night. So
Okay. You know how there's an episode of Wabah where they talk about like showing your butthole to the sun and how do you do that? And like my mind went to like you bending over and like opening your butt cheeks, but they had said like, oh, like a happy baby pose. I'm like, that makes much more sense. I was out weeding between the garlic and the lettuce rows the other day, and my asshole was like straight at the sun. I could feel the heat pounding through my jeans. I was like, this is what they meant.
there you go.
There you go.
There you go. So yeah.
Throw your butthole to the moon and sun when you can.
Yeah, and shadow work.
Yep. That's what I meant.
So that's our 2 cents from the Inner Witch Oracle. Thanks to Grounded by the Moon for not sponsoring this podcast at all.
This
We just
mess.
really love his deck. It's really we love your deck.
We love your dick.
All right, man. Are we ready to get into some Apple? What is this? The history of the Apple.
Hell to the yes. I'm ready. Take it away.
All right. So, the history of the apple. The ancestor of the domesticated apple is the Malus sieversii, a wild apple tree found in the Tian Shan Mountains, Central Asia. Apples from the Malus sieversii, the Malus.
We practiced this.
Okay, the apples from the Malus sieversii tree were plucked and taken onto the Silk Road. During the long journey, several varieties of apples fused, evolved, and hybridized. These newer forms of apples were then taken via the Silk Road to different parts of the world, and they gradually became a common fruit in local markets. Apples reached different regions at different times in history. In China, apples were consumed about 2,000 years ago and were predominantly used in desserts. These apples were much softer, being the hybrids of the M. baccata and M. sieversii varieties. In Italy, archaeologists have discovered ruins which suggest the consumption of apples from 4000 BCE. In the Middle East, there is evidence to say that apples were cultivated and eaten from the 3rd millennium BCE. Apples were brought into North America in the 17th century by European colonialists. In America and the rest of the world, apples were largely stored in attics or cellars.
So Apple Day is a festival held on October 31st. I guess that's National Apple Day?
No, 21st.
21st?
Yeah.
And which supports local culture and diversity. And apple trees can live for about 100 years. We had an apple tree in our yard. We would just chuck them at each other, though. They were like little tiny little apples. But that's the first tree I remember as like a little being able to climb by myself. And it fell down like 2-3 years ago. While my parents were here actually visiting, it fell down and they had to get rid of it.
I had a crabapple tree, and I was really sad when that got my dad chopped it down because it was starting to attract, I guess, like these really large fruit flies.
Ew.
And they were like, I guess, eating away at the bark, and it just like it was dying. So they chopped it down. I was so upset. I literally cried when they tore that tree down because like I sat under that tree and like I would paint under it. I would read under it. It provided such awesome shade. In the spring, it would just like bloom these beautiful white blossoms. It was just so pretty.
Awesome.
I'm so upset when they chopped it down. I got my Ron Jeremy on and I was like hugging. I was like, don't chop my tree.
So apples are made up of 25% air, which can make them float a little easier, and that's where we get our bobbing for apples. Do we have any information about where that stems from, that game Bobbing for Apples? Also, if we don't, so it's a game you usually play like at a birthday party. I remember we had it at our party. A show that I have been raving about is called Victorian Farm, and they also do the Edwardian Farm, and it's like three historians, anthropologists that go and live on a working farm, but only do things in the time period. And they had done kind of like a bobbing for apples thing, but instead you hang apples from a chandelier above your table. The chandelier has candles in it, and you're supposed to be able to grab the apple with your teeth and pull it off. But if you aren't able to pull it off, by you pulling the apple, you tilt the chandelier toward you, and like the wax from the candles is supposed to like drip at you, which is a crazy Edwardian game.
Yeah, I feel like if TikTok did exist back then, that game would have definitely been on TikTok. Have you seen the trend where these idiots tie a filled water bottle to a fan on a string
Yes.
And then they stand there and they just like get whacked in the face with this fucking like, water, like filled water bottle.
Yes.
I was picturing the Edwardians filming this for TikTok. Like just
I
can't.
love these shows. It's so fun. There is one dude, I don't remember his name. He's like the his job is basically folklore and rituals in England. And he comes on the show and he's the one who brings up like all the like they talk about Imbolc, they talk about Ostara, they talk about all of the holidays. He loves his job so much. And I just want to be him. He has the coolest job. So he comes to the farm every now and then to tell about like how to rid your apple trees of the fairies or the gremlins by giving them offerings and things like that. He's sweet.
I love that.
Yeah, I love it too.
I love that as like legit tree breeding advice. Like here's how to keep your tree away from fairies so they don't kidnap your children and send them to a realm that you can't get them back.
Exactly.
But the bobbing for apples origin that originated in Europe hundreds of years ago, and it had more to do with romance. I don't think it was a Halloween thing because normally we associate it with Halloween parties now, right? So the game was part of a courting ritual and was a popular way to bring young lovers together and help them determine if they were soulmates or not. So one of the most popular ways it was played was for each apple in the container to represent a special someone. Each girl would then bob for an apple and try to bite into the one that belonged to her crush. If she was able to successfully get it on her first try, that means the stars were aligned and they were destined to be together. However, if it took the woman 2 attempts to get the apple, that was an indication that they would court for a while, but their relationship would eventually fade and it wasn't meant for the long haul. And if it took her 3 or more shots to bite into her crush's apple, it sadly meant that her crush wasn't the right person for her and she shouldn't try to pursue a relationship with him.
I love it.
So yeah, so it's a bit of like, I don't know, like a little game or like some kind of like divination.
Yeah, like a he loves me not.
Yep.
That's really cool. So yeah, one of our things on here is that bobbing for apples is probably the most famous game for Halloween. For Halloween time, excuse me. Oh, Jesus. Malice domesticiaphobia. Is the fear of eating apples. Did I get it on the first try?
I think you might have. Wait, say it again.
Malice domesticiaphobia? Malice domesticiaphobia.
You're close. It's like domestica. Like malice domesticaphobia.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Well, fuck me.
It's window.
Widower. Widower. Malice domesticaphobia.
There you go. You got it. You got it.
Dang.
You're good. You're good.
There are about 8,000 varieties of apples worldwide. The Bible does not state that the apple is a forbidden fruit, but believers have formed such an interpretation, which we touched on earlier. Quince! Apples induce mental alertness and sharpness. According to current records, China is the largest producer of apples in the world. Malice domesticaphobia.
Yeah.
Is a fear of eating apples?
Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
Why is apple such a scary thing to eat? I would have never even associated apples with being scary.
I want to look something up really quick.
All right. While you do that, I'm going to jump into apple symbolism and meanings, and this is by Danny Reese from symbolsage.com. Apples have played a significant and often symbolic role in many ancient myths, fairy tales, and stories. Where was I?
Okay, so
What? Kristina dying.
I just typed in what is the average number of people with that phobia, and one of the links that popped up is what it's like to want to punch.
Kristina can't even say this without dying. What
it's like to want to punch someone.
Wait. What? Did you say what it's like to want to throat punch someone?
Hang on. What it's like to want to throat punch someone for eating an apple.
Have you ever wanted to throat punch someone for eating an apple? I don't think I've ever felt that.
What the hell?
That's hysterical.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to know like the average number of people with this phobia.
Well, apparently people feel so strongly about this that they want to throat punch other people. So
it's literally the third link that pops up.
Is the first one Billy Zane?
It's not. It says, I'm afraid of fruit, especially apples. And it's from the globeandmail.com.
Oh my God. So
I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, get out of there. Get out of there.
Oh my God. That's going to be our clip for a TikTok.
what it's like to throat punch someone for eating an apple. There you go.
I'm so sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Take us to the symbolism and meaning.
All right. So apples have played a significant and often symbolic role in many ancient myths, fairy tales, and stories. There's something about this fruit that sets it apart from others, making it a prominent motif. Moffat. Meaningful. Window. Wallace. And meaningful product of the natural world.
I know what I wanted to say earlier about green apples. I heard Practical Magic did that really nice meme for us when we were talking about Michael's death, like his death by getting struck by a car versus his death by lightning, and they did up a Lightning McQueen with green apples all around him.
Lightning McQueen. Yeah.
Thank you, Kim from I Heart Practical Magic.
Yeah, thanks, Kim, for churning out these amazing memes. She also just did one of the window to the soul, which was
Widower.
All right. So with that said, let's take a closer look at the symbolic meaning of apples and the role it's played in global culture over the years. The apple symbolism dates back to ancient Greek times and is typically connected to emotions of the heart. These include love, lust, sensuality, and affection.
Bro, our fire element card. Have you seen? There's a line in this movie called The English Patient, and it says the heart is the organ of fire.
All right, there you go.
I love it. Yeah, so that is the apple connection. Love, lust, sensuality, and affection.
And one of the keywords on this card was passion.
And the apple's kind of shaped like a little heart.
Yeah. And aren't apples kind of synonymous with like passion and temptation and love? And
yes.
On the lover's card of the tarot, are those apple trees on there? I can't remember if it's apple trees on there, but basically it's very reminiscent, that card, of Adam and Eve.
It is, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't catch my breath. Do I have COVID?
Are you still thinking of the throat punch?
You ever want to just throat punch somebody for eating an apple?
Can't make that of me. This is our new Death Watch Beetle episode. Anyway, so apples as a symbol of love. The apple is known as the fruit of love and has been used since the time immemorial to express affection and passion. In Greek mythology, Dionysus offers apples to Aphrodite. Dionysus or Dionysus? I've always said Dionysus. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Dionysus offers apples to Aphrodite.
Dinosaurs.
Dinosauritis offers apples to Aphrodite in order to win her heart and love. Symbols of sensuality. Apples are often used in paintings and artworks as a symbol of desire and sensuality. The Roman goddess Venus is often depicted with an apple to express love, beauty, and desire. It's a symbol of positivity. The apple is a symbol of goodness and positivity in Jewish culture. During the Rosh Hashanah or the Jewish New Year, it is custom for Jewish people to eat apples immersed in honey. That's interesting.
Delicious.
Yeah, that sounds delicious. Symbol of feminine beauty. The apple is a symbol of feminine beauty and youth in China. In China, apple blossoms represent feminine beauty. In northern China, the apple is a symbol of spring. Symbol of fertility. The apple has been used as a symbol of fertility across many cultures and traditions. In Greek mythology, Hera received an apple during her engagement to Zeus as an emblem of fertility. And lastly, it's a symbol of knowledge. The apple is a symbol of knowledge, wisdom, and education. In the 1700s, apples were gifted to teachers in Denmark and Sweden as a mark of their knowledge and intellect. This tradition began to follow in the United States from the 19th century onwards. If you guys watch any of those old school cartoons, that whole put the apple on the teacher's desk kind of trope.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cute. And what teacher didn't have that jean jumper with the little crayon and the apples and stuff? I don't know. That's wild. I didn't know that was the start of the connection. Right. With teachers and apples. That's crazy.
Yeah. Do you remember the old Sleepy Hollow cartoon from Disney, the Ichabod Crane, when they all he's the school teacher and they're all putting the apples on his desk? Yeah.
I love that movie. Bing Crosby does the voice of
was it the song? The music in that?
Yeah, who's the strong guy?
Oh, what's his name?
I thought it started with a B.
Yeah.
Brahms?
Brom. Yep.
Yeah. Whew. That would
Woo!
figure that one out.
All
All
right.
right, we got some dream interpretation. Maybe this will help you with your dream last night. So we have first we have
Ooh.
the dream dictionary from A to Z by Teresa Chung, and it says to dream about apples. In Judeo-Christian belief, that apple denotes sin and temptation because of Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, after the serpent tempted Eve to eat the apple growing on the tree of knowledge. Greek mythology associated the apple with sexual attraction. This is very like fire energy. This is
Uh-huh.
crazy. So if you are married and tempted to bite or steal an apple in your dreams, this could represent the attraction of the forbidden affair.
Yeah.
Their association with the tree of knowledge means that apples may also indicate the self-knowledge and insight gained from experience. On the other hand, they may also symbolize a desire to return to lost innocence.
Okay.
To see, so that, like in that case, I know you're gearing up for like a open mic night, like a show, like not like childhood innocence, but something you had done in your past as a younger woman that you had a passion for that's coming back around. So maybe
Oh, we never mentioned that on this podcast. I don't
we
think.
have not mentioned. So Justina's gonna be playing a gig.
I'll play in a show. By the time you hear this episode, the show will have probably already passed.
God dang it! We gotta start putting this shit on calendars so we can tell people.
I know.
What if you met a listener out in the wild?
That would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
I hope. I'm gonna make a poster for it. Maybe we could throw it up on the Instagrams.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys see that before you even hear this episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a little bit more. It says to see apples growing in a tree in your dreams symbolizes wisdom, and that well-earned rewards will be gained from in the near future. There you go. Consider also the common phrase, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. This may imply that you need to take better care of your health, which you are. To see green apples represents developing love or love that has yet to blossom. To see a rotten or half-eaten apple in your dreams denotes that you are striving and aiming for what you are striving and aiming for may not only be unfulfilling, it may be harmful to you. A popular image of the comforts of home in childhood, apple pie, probably reflects a desire to return to the security of childhood. Old rivalries and resentments may be expressed if you appear to be served a smaller slice of pie than the others present in your dream.
All right. So what would you say about like my dream of the apple tree that I dreamt of? They were red.
They were red apples?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you're like starting to see your stuff come to fruition. No.
Ooh, I
I
like
don't know. Man, I don't know. I sound like a hack.
All
I don't know
right.
what I'm talking about. And
So-
then
Yeah, give us a little bit of practical interpretation by our one and only Brasidia
our
Ryan.
one and only, man. So this is a nice shorty patorty. So if you dream of green apples, your life will be enhanced by another within the next few days, and you will share mad money.
I like that.
A yellow apple, someone is attempting to deceive you and lead you down the wrong path. If you dream of a red apple, hey, you will be promised undying love. This promise will be kept.
Okay.
And in any other form, stop overextending yourself at work and show greater affection toward that special person.
I like that.
Book
I like
close noise.
book close.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move on over to cultural significance of apples. And apples are a part of several culture and spiritual beliefs and have both positive and negative meanings. Some of the cultural significations, did I say that right? Significations of apples are as follows. So first we're going to touch on apples in the Bible. In Christianity, according to the Old Testament, the apple symbolized temptation, sin, and the fall of mankind. The forbidden fruit consumed by Adam and Eve was believed to be an apple. But as we now know, it's a quince. In the biblical Songs of Solomon, the apple is used as a symbol of sensuality. In the New Testament, however, the apple is used in a positive sense. Jesus Christ is sometimes portrayed with an apple in his hand as a symbol of revival and redemption. The New Testament also uses the phrase apple of my eye to denote strong love. Is that where
Wow.
that term came from? I had no idea where that
I
term
didn't know that. I thought it would have been a Shakespearean
Right.
quote.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, so Cornish beliefs. The Cornish people have a festival of apples with several games and customs related to the fruit. During the festival, large polished apples are gifted to friends and family as a symbol of good luck. There is also a popular game where the participant has to catch apples with their mouths. Wow.
That's a good way to knock your teeth out.
Yeah, or to get throat punched. Cornish men. Can you imagine playing this game like oh man, Sounds dangerous. Cornish men and women take back the festive apples and keep it under their pillows as it's believed to attract a suitable husband/wife. Okay, so in Norse mythology, Iudun, the goddess of eternal youth, is associated with apples. Iudun keeps the golden apples to bestow gods with immortality. Then we have a little bit about Greek mythology. The moffat of the apple recurs throughout Greek mythology. The golden apples in Greek tales come from the grove of goddess Hera. One of these golden apples, also known as the apple of discord, led to the Trojan War when Paris of Troy gifted the apple to Aphrodite and kidnapped Helen of Sparta. The golden apple is also depicted in the myth of Atlanta. Atlanta is a quick-footed huntress who proposed to marry one who could run faster than her. Oh God. Hippopotamus. Hippomenes had 3 golden apples from the garden of Hesperides. As Atlanta ran, he dropped the apples, which distracted Atlanta, causing her to lose the race. Hippomenes then won her hand in marriage. The apple has a privileged place in the Western esoteric traditions and has a wide and varied interpretation of its magical powers and uses.
To expand on the Western esoteric traditions, they're associated with love magic. And this comes from the druidsgarden.com. And it says, in the Encyclopedia of Natural Magic, John Michael Greer notes that the apples are a sign of Venus in Libra, and that they are most typically used in love magic and love drawing. This association goes back to at least Roman times, according to this source, where figs, known as love apples, and y'all, if you crack a fig open, that looks like a straight up like goddess symbol, yoni. You know, that is such a fertility fruit, so I can see where that comes from.
I also think that the fig kind of looks like an otherworldly fruit. Like if you look
alien
inside
fruit,
of a fig, it's like those little tentacles. It's
Ugh.
inside of a fig is so creepy.
It is. Just close your eyes and open your mouth.
That's what she said.
Eventually, they had their meaning transferred to the apples on the tree. This is also consistent with the American hoodoo tradition, where Cat Whyron says that apple, that is so hard to say. Cat Whyron says that apple is used as a sweetener to attract someone to love, but also for sweetening up customers or bringing in business. They're also associated with expelling evil. In ancient legends, mystic charms, and superstitions of Ireland from 1887, a spell about apples and elder is written. It is said that by time-wise women and fairy doctors that the root of the elder tree and the roots of an apple tree that bear red apples, if boiled together and drunk fasting, will expel any evil living thing or evil spirit that may have taken up its abode in the body of a man.
Can I just say, like, where does one get a PhD in fairy doctorism?
Dude, I'm telling you what, that's sweet. So apples as a magic key or gateway. So in The Glass Mountain from the Yellow Fairy Book, a book of Celtic fairy tales, there is a golden apple tree that sits atop a glass mountain. The apple grants people entrance into the splendid castle where stores of food, riches, and a princess waiting to be rescued by a valiant knight. The apple tree's apples are guarded by an eagle. A young man makes it up to the apple tree and battles the eagle. He wins but sustains a wound. He places the peel of one of the golden apples on his wound and then goes into the castle to claim his bride. This is but one of many Celtic tales that demonstrates the apple as a gateway. The very famous fairy faith in Celtic countries also describes apple branches as gateway to the other world, kind of like the hawthorn tree, right?
Yeah.
The fairy world.
Yep.
It is also involved with the eternal youth and eternal life scenario. So in the Norse tradition, there is an apple tree in Asgard that offers eternal youth to anyone who eats of the fruit. We just talked about this. Indjun, a goddess, tends the tree, and only with her tending it do the apples grow. Long lost friend, an American grimoire of PA Dutch folk magic, suggests that the roots of an apple tree, I feel like that was confusing for some listeners. I'm from Pennsylvania originally. They're like, does she have Tourette's? Let me see here. Suggests that the roots of an apple tree are good for curing a toothache by the way of using a needle, blood, and some transference magic.
You know what that is?
That you send that pain or that illness into the apple.
Okay, got it. Yep. Makes sense.
But this is one of many ways in which the apple is seen as a healing tool for both mundane and magical reasons. And lastly, the apple's protective nature. In regards to this, it says, as nearly every pagan can attest, cutting an apple in half horizontally reveals a pentacle. The apple carries so much magic within her that it is literally reflected both in her fruit and in the blossoms, which form a five-petaled flower. How about that?
Lovely. Were you the one that was just asking me if I did the little apple stamps as a kid?
Yeah.
With the paint.
Apple stamps.
Little apple imprints on paper with paint.
Bringing it all back.
That was fun. So here's some apple and Native American traditions. A lot of Native American lore involves apple trees, but not necessarily their magical qualities of them. I think that this was partially true because apples were brought to the New World long after many of the mythologies were established. There are a few things present, however. Apples as a fragrant blessing. One legend from an unknown tribe surrounds the fragrance of apple blossoms and flowers. In this story, a baby is carried by a panther under blooming apple trees, a baby who turns into a woman that falls from heaven. The villagers take her in, and she loves the flowers and blooms more than anything. She dies and plans on moving onto the little people, but decides to first bless her village that gave her so much. So she makes the blooms, including the apple blooms, more fragrant.
Aww.
And then this other story is called Apple as a Gateway to the World. In another legend from the Huron tribe, Huron, the world is divided into two parts. One part is the sky world, where the people lived, and the second world is the lower world, which was all water, where the animals lived. A girl who lived in the sky world was tired and went to take a nap underneath an apple tree. A hole appeared under the tree, and she fell through along with the apple tree to the lower world below. This is like the upside down in like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
I wonder if she'll find Barb down there.
Barb.
Barb. Poor Barb. She is caught by two swans, and then Big Turtle brings all of the animals together. They decide to bring the soil up from the depths of the water to create an island for her to live on. This doesn't work well, but eventually the animals spread seeds and dirt onto Big Turtle's back, and the girl lives there. Now the whole world rests on Big Turtle's back, which is why this land is called Turtle Island. Interesting.
How about that?
That's really cool.
So apples in relation to mythology, apples offer us much in terms of ancestral traditions. One ancestral tradition closely tied to the apple here in the U.S. was Johnny Appleseed, a historical and legendary figure who spread apples all over the U.S. Eastman notes in this article that some crab apples do not appear native to the U.S., but nearly all of the apples we have were spread by Appleseed, and others looking to make cider. And I think we agree that they're just trying to get a little Swifty in here. Shit on the floor. Shit on the floor. Do you watch
I don't know,
Rick and Morty?
Oh no, I don't watch it.
Okay.
I think Avi watches that show.
So in Eric Sloane's A Reverence for Wood, Sloane writes about the important place of apples in colonial America. Because the early colonists were told not to drink any of the water, they depended on drinking cider, the alcohol of which would be safe. Even small children were raised drinking apple cider as their primary beverage. Even late into winter, apples from root cellars were brought out and made into many things. This made the apple one of the primary foods and drinks. Unlike today's limited variety, Sloane notes that in the 1700s, there were close to 2,000 known varieties of apples. Most orchards were planted with many varieties to ensure an extended harvest, as different kinds of apples had different purposes. Cider apples, storage apples, fresh-eating apples, etc. Special care was taken both in harvesting and preserving of apples. Sloane notes that special apples were often hung carefully by their stems in the house or packed away in straw for the winter months. And of course, one of the long-standing ancestral traditions is wassail. And they say, I've written fairly extensively about the wassail tradition surrounding apples. Because of the importance of the apple as a staple food and drink crop, people would go out to the trees in and around January 6th or 17th, and this says Old 12th night, depending on how you calculate it, to bless the trees, make offerings to the trees, and drive evil spirits away from the trees to ensure an abundance of harvest coming season. This is what I was telling you about in the Edwardian farm, where the guy is going out to the trees. He's taking like a piece of bread and he's dipping it in cider, and then he's leaving the bread in the tree.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'm losing my mind. Full circle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So make no mistake that these wassail traditions were magical traditions focused on bringing good health, fertility, and abundance to the land. And they are very old ancestral magic that has begun making its way back into our modern era. Dude,
Cool.
I love it. I love that this guy, I gotta find out what this
Yeah.
guy's name is. He's amazing.
Can you link that in our source notes? I want to watch that shit.
Oh, I love it's on Netflix. It's great.
Oh,
No,
wait,
it's on
what's it called?
Amazon. Excuse me, it's on Amazon. He's in both.
Edwardian?
So there's the Victorian farm and then the Edwardian farm.
I love it.
Folklorist from Edwardian farm. All right, his name is Ronald Edmund Hutton. He's an English historian who specializes in early modern Britain, British folklore, pre-Christian religions, and contemporary paganism. He's a professor at the University of Bristol, and he's written 14 books. And he's also appeared in British television and radio.
All right, so this article's from thepresenttree.com. So in ancient mythology, the apple is one of the most sacred trees and symbolizes good health and future happiness. Since ancient times, it has also been known as the tree of love and is associated with Aphrodite, goddess of love. This tree plays an important role in Greek mythology. The earth goddess, Gaia, gave Hera, the supreme goddess, an apple tree when she married Zeus. The sacred tree was nurtured by the Hesperides, daughters of evening, and fiercely guarded by the dragon Ladon. In Norse legend, the goddess Idun is guardian of the apples, which she fed to the gods and goddesses so they remain young forever, or remain forever young. Apple wands were also used.
Young.
I love that
I
song.
wanna be forever.
Another Napoleon Dynamite reference today. Or there's that Rod Stewart song, Forever Young, Forever Young. I love that song.
Ever young. Oh, also, that guy, Michael Gorgon, who I was telling you about from Newsies, he's in a movie with Mel Gibson called Forever Young.
Wait, was that the time travel movie?
Yes, he's
I
like the older
fucking
brother
love
that
that.
has like a little, he like drives the kid to where he needs to be. He's the older brother.
That movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, the time travel one.
Yeah, good movie. Good movie. I haven't seen that in a friggin' probably 2 decades.
This episode is very Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah, everything's connected.
We're pulling a Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
The dusters.
So you're already hot.
I'm hot.
Apple wands were also used in Norse rituals as they symbolize good health, happiness, wisdom, and eternal love. Similarly, Celtic mythology often mentions apples as the fruit of the gods that brings a sense of wholeness, healing, and connection with nature. The wild apple is the original tree from which all varieties have been created. It is a pretty deciduous tree with an abundance of delicate blossoms every spring and dainty apples which ripen in autumn. The wild apple tree will happily grow in any garden and is great for wildlife, especially bees and garden birds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, apples in modern folklore. It says we have many references to the apple in present society. People either are good apples or bad apples. One bad apple will spoil the bunch. Newton was apparently hit on the head with an apple that led to his insight on the theory of gravity. The Buddha gained enlightenment under the apple tree, as did the Merlin in the Arthurian folklore. Snow White was, of course, seduced with a poison apple. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. In this folklore, good apples are tied to insight, fertility, and health, while bad apples will lead to ruin and poor health.
Did you ever hear about that study? It might actually be in these notes somewhere. I didn't even look. But there's like a study. If you leave 2 apples on your windowsill and you talk really negatively to one and you talk really positively to the other, like the one that you talk negatively to actually rots like a lot faster, supposedly.
Oh, that's so
So it's like-
sad.
So it's like a study to show like how your words and intentions do have power.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So I always thought that was an interesting study. I've never tried it, but I've heard about it, and my mind is blown. All right, so we know the term "an apple a day keeps the doctor away," right? It's the common saying, but this saying has quite a bit of truth. So as far back as Culpeper, whatever that is, do you know what that is?
Culpeper. Yes.
Is his name Nicholas?
His name is Nicholas.
And who is he? Is he a philosopher? Is he a scientist?
I think he is a botanist. Let me look up his exact thing. I only know him from the Witch Amateur Hour, so hang tight.
Okay. So
he was an English botanist. Yes.
Okay. So as far back as Culpeper, we have records of apples being used for a variety of healing uses. Culpeper offers a range of uses, from using them to soothe hot and bilious stomachs, to roasting them and adding frankincense to a poultice to address pain in the abdomen or side. And he notes their generally cooling quality. He also notes that an apple syrup will surely assist with faintings, palpitations, and melancholy.
Oh.
All right, so today, likewise, herbalists recognize the importance of apples to health. Matthew Wood, in his Earthwise Herbal Old World Plants, I guess it's a book, notes that apples are a quote, true folk medicine, in that accounts of what apples can do in terms of health vary widely. Each herbalist, therefore, had his or her own personal experience with how to use the apple. However, Wood notes some consistencies. Apples are cooling and moistening, reflected in what I just wrote about Culpeper. Apples, before they are ripe, have an astringent quality, making your mouth pucker. Therefore, herbalists today use apples for a variety of hot conditions such as burns, fevers, headaches, and kidney strain and pain, which is what I was telling you. I used the apple cider vinegar when I had the kidney stones.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I don't know
And
if it
we'll
was
have-
recording before when we were talking about that, but
I
have
don't
to...
think so.
Yeah. So I had kidney stones a couple years ago. I went to the doctor, got x-rays. They found the stone, like it showed up in the x-ray, and they said, here's a funnel. Go home and pee over this funnel until you catch the stone. And I was like, fuck that. I ain't doing that. Like,
Yeah.
I am not passing that stone through my little pee hole. No, thank you. That sounds painful as fuck. So I was like looking up like herbal remedies, like, you know, I was like, there's got to be a way to dissolve these fuckers. So sure enough, I found like apple cider vinegar is supposed to help, I guess, minimize them or dissolve them or whatever. I don't know. I don't
That's
know.
incredible.
I don't know if it's true, but I made my apple cider vinegar tea and I upped my water intake, and I guess it dissolved it because I was peeing over that funnel and I never caught no stone and the pain went away. So I guess it dissolved
Thank
it.
goodness.
I
Yeah,
guess
that's
it dissolved
fantastic.
it. I don't know. I'm guessing, but I mean, I was like, whoa, it's magic.
We'll have quite a bit more on apple cider vinegar, I think, later on in this episode. That it's just like a cure-all, man. It's good for everything. Let's talk about some pop culture. And this says 5 moments when apples were a big deal in pop culture. And this is by Alice Hoffman. It says, these days, apples of the iPhone variety get far more pop culture love than the fruit. All the more reason then to share our favorite timeless references to the original. So first off, we have Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Despite its seemingly dark overtones, this Brothers Grimm classic is one of the world's most beloved fairy tales. Its most pivotal moment is undoubtedly when a naive Snow White bites into an apple poisoned by the jealous evil queen, lulling her into a slumber that can only be reversed with Prince Charming's kiss. Okay, not consensual, first of all.
Yeah, if she's sleeping, then that's definitely not consensual.
Yeah, but like when you're young, I don't know about you. I was like, I wish somebody would wake me up with a kiss.
Really?
That wasn't my mom,
That's
like on my
creepy as-
forehead.
Creepy as
It's
fuck.
Is it? Well then, fuck me. Okay. So we kind of touched on Johnny Appleseed before, and this is great because that's what I was going to ask you. I was like, what was like Johnny Appleseed's real name? Here it is. It was John Chapman. But the itinerant nurseman. So we talked about itinerant cowboys in the Louis L'Amour. Is that just like a paid for hire person? I think it's just a paid for hire.
Okay. I guess that makes sense.
Like they're not contracted or anything.
Right.
Okay. Nurseryman, so probably somebody who takes care of plants, is better known by his playful moniker. Beginning in the late 18th century, the missionary and conservationist planted apple nurseries across states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. He achieved such fabled status for his apple seed scattering efforts that it's often hard to remember Johnny isn't the stuff of legend, but the hardworking son of a Revolutionary War Minuteman. How about that? I didn't know that.
Hard working, spreading that seed.
Spreading that seed. I wonder if he did have kids.
I don't know.
Again, here comes Sir Isaac Newton. Although he left no written account of his storied anecdote, it's easy to fall for the purported and a little too neat and clean tale of how Sir Isaac Newton instantly dreamed up the theory of gravity while sitting in the garden. Out of the blue, an apple fell on his head.
Mm-hmm.
How did the Big Apple become synonymous with New York City? The mysterious origins first point to the 1920s, when apples referred to the big stake prize won at the area's numerous racing courses. Later, jazz musicians started bandying around the term, indicating that New York was the most prestigious spot to land a gig. The nickname was so catchy, the city's tourism arm built an official visitor spiking campaign around the term.
Interesting.
Okay. The one that what we said before, one bad apple spoils the barrel. Not to get all new agey, but this is an old school idiom that is a cliche for a reason. All it takes is one negative thought or one pessimistic person to destroy a good thing. It also works on a literal level. Storing a moldy apple with, say, like a spry pear will spawn an unwelcome chain reaction of contamination in the fruit basket, which I think I've heard of. Like, you don't put spoiling food with or fruit. Yeah, because you...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So let's talk about how apples play a big role in popular culture. This is another article. This is by Doris Reynolds. That's another D name. We could have went with Doris. Doris.
No, you're Donna Bafona.
Donna Bafona. All right. So Doris says, bright and brilliant October is harvest time throughout much of the world. Festivals and celebration of the bounty of God and nature are held to glorify a prolific and profitable harvest. Apples are among the most celebrated of the crops, especially here in the United States, where Johnny Appleseed left a legacy of thousands of apple trees. There's a name again, Johnny Appleseed. He comes up a lot in the apple mythos or mythology. Although there are many references to apples in the Bible, it is only legend that purports that Eve tempted Adam with an apple. However, those who began depicting the apple as the fruit of the tree of knowledge couldn't have picked a more tempting enticement than this beautiful and delicious fruit. Throughout history, apples have played an important part in legend, science, art, and history. Apples were grown in the garden of the Phoenicians. In Greek mythology, one of Hercules' tasks was to obtain the golden apples of the Hesperides, which were extremely well guarded since they bestowed immortality to those who ate them. Artists such as Cézanne, Crivelli, and Courbet celebrated the apple on canvas. Our early settlers thought so highly of the apple that they brought apple seeds with them in their precious supplies. Peregrine White, the first baby born on the Mayflower, he left his own legacy when he planted apple trees throughout the region. Interesting.
Adorable name.
Yeah, Peregrine. How cute.
Peregrine.
Ever since we were children, we have grown to believe that an apple a day keeps the doctor away. According to two Yale University researchers, Professor Tyler Lorig and Gary Schwartz, the fragrance from an apple evokes such a calming response in people, it has even been found to prevent anxiety attacks.
Oh.
The patron saint of the apple, Johnny Appleseed Chapman, was a living example of the healing powers of the apple. Among the legendary tales of this extraordinary man is the story that once he fell asleep and a rattlesnake tried to bite him, but he was immune to the venom. He spent 49 years of his life in the American wilderness planting apple seeds. He created apple orchards in Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Some of these original trees continued to bear fruit. Born in 1774, he died in 1845, and the day he died was the only time he had ever been ill.
Oh my God.
Wow. He was really keeping
Damn.
the doctors away.
That's right.
Apples have influenced many facets of our lives, including the vernacular. Such terms as the Big Apple, apple of my eye, apple polishing, upper crust, and as American as apple pie are in common usage. Consider their origins. So we've already talked about a lot of these, right? So upper crust in the early days of our history, only the affluent used two crusts when baking apple pies. Poorer families used only a bottom crust. Thus, rich families prided themselves in placing a two-crust pie out on a pedestal, proclaiming themselves as member of the upper crust.
I love stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like the origins of sayings. That has a specific name, but
Yeah.
I really love that stuff.
Yeah, man. So the Big Apple, we touched on this a little bit before. It says this appellation dates back to the 1930s when jazz took over the clubs in New York City. Charlie Parker and other jazz greats began referring to their performances as having a lot of apples on the tree. That is, a lot of places to play. Soon, music critics were referring to the city as the Big Apple. So I guess that coincides with what did we say before? The betting or the racing, numerous racing courses.
Got it.
Big stake prizes won at numerous racing courses. So I guess maybe there were a couple different reasons why they called it the Big Apple. Apple of my eye. This expression dates back to ancient Greece and Rome, when it was perceived that the pupil of the eye was similar to an apple, a global object. Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
The pupil was also regarded as a window to the treasured secrets.
Widow.
No, this really does say window. Nice try, Kristina. The pupil was also regarded as a window to the treasured secrets within each one of us, and when one was the apple of another's eye, it gave access to that inner secret soul.
That is so sweet.
That's so deep. Apples as a health food go all the way back to Hippocrates. He had long been extolling the virtues of including fiber into the diet to his students.
Oh,
The fruit contains boron, an essential element in strengthening bones and preventing osteoporosis. There is boron in the apple, its juice, and applesauce. So when you're taking a bite out of that crisp, delicious, juicy, satisfying apple, be assured that you are helping to lower your cholesterol, ingesting plenty of vital fiber, preventing cardiovascular diseases, and enjoying one of nature's greatest gifts.
golly.
Yeah. Oh, so this little bit, I added this little bit because I don't know. Did we talk about Garden Spells, the book? Did you read that book?
I have read that book. We have not talked about it, and I need to add it to our Goodreads. Which
I added
will
it
do right now. Oh, thank you. Okay,
yeah,
great.
I added it because I totally forgot upon writing all the notes for this episode, and then like when we were talking about pop culture, it popped into my mind. I was like, oh my God. I feel like we've talked about Garden Spells, number one. Number two, Garden Spells is kind of along the lines of like a practical magic type of story. It's very quaint, set in like a small town. There's something about this Waverly family. It's not the Owens family, it's the Waverly family. They have like this enchanting aura surrounding them. And in the novel, it's a 2000 novel written by Sarah Addison Allen, and it's all about the apples, this apple tree. The apples of one tree in Basco, North Carolina, which is where this story is set, exhibit a rather unusual property. So the apples of this tree tell people what the biggest event in their lives will be. So I thought that was really cool. The Waverly family, who are the stewards of this tree, and all that grows in the enchanted soil around it, the Waverly family have learned to never eat these apples. However, they regularly harness the power of other magically endowed foods.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of
reread that.
Yeah, there's a lot of food talk in Garden Spells. I remember.
Great.
I think the main character, I forget what her name was, but she's a baker or a cook. I think that's her profession. And
The Johnny Bravo thing just blooped through my head. The baker, Capricorn. I'm a Cancer.
I'm a Capricorn. So read Garden Spells, guys. You might like it if you like practical magic. This book might be up your alley. So yeah, we added it to the Goodreads, so definitely check that out.
I see the word quiz and Kristina next to each other, so
yeah.
What the hell?
All right, yeah. I thought I would surprise you with a little quiz.
I hate quiz.
Oh, pop quiz.
All right.
A little apple pop quiz.
Okay, do I have to do anything? Just listen and answer?
Just listen and answer. See if you know these famous...
Did you take the quiz?
I did. I think I got 2 wrong.
Oh, I'm gonna be so bad. I'm so bad at pop culture.
We'll see. You might be better than you think, but all right.
Okay.
So, ready?
Yeah.
Question number 1.
Okay.
What famous celebrity couple named... this is multiple choice, by the way. I will give you options.
Okay.
So what famous celebrity couple named their daughter Apple? Jennifer Lopez and Mark Anthony? Well, I didn't say. A, Jennifer Lopez and Mark Anthony. B, Ashley Tisdale and Christopher French. C, Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin. Or 4, Meghan Trainor and Daryl Sabara.
It went A, B, C, and 4. I think it's Gwyneth Paltrow.
It doesn't tell you if you're right or wrong.
Oh no.
But you're right. You're right.
Okay.
You're right about that one. All right. So, in what children's book does a tree give a boy an apple to sell? A, The Giving Tree. B, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. C, The BFG. Or D, Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh no. Is it The Giving Tree?
I'm pretty sure you're right.
I don't remember if he sells it.
Again, it doesn't tell me if we're
But
right
that
or
tree gives him everything else. That non-deserving little shit. Terrible child.
I think you're right. All right. Question 3. What's on the packaging of an apple-flavored Laffy Taffy? A, trivia. B, drawing. C, a joke. Or D, a fun fact.
A joke.
All right. It turned yellow. I don't know what that means.
Oh, that sounds wrong then.
I hope it gives me like at the end of a quiz, it just tells you all the answers.
Yes.
I didn't get that yesterday. So
Oh, you didn't get the answers?
it just told me like how many got wrong. It didn't tell me. Yeah.
Oh.
So Apples to Apples is a famous blank. A, board game. B, drawing game. C, card game. Or D, dice game.
Card game.
I think it's a board game.
Technically, it's a board game, but you use the cards.
I think it's a board
Okay.
game, but Oh no, maybe you're right. All right, we'll have to do our research after this because
How many questions are there?
I don't even know. We're almost
Okay.
done.
Okay.
All right, so question number I forget. Quote, how do you like them apples? End quote, is from what award-winning movie? I'm pretty sure you said this earlier.
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. I won't even say that. Okay, so the choices were Jerry Maguire, Good Will Hunting, Titanic, and Independence Day. Could you picture Billy Zane and be like, how do you like them apples?
I cannot. Awesome.
All right, next question. What year did Apple release its first iMac computer?
Oh,
A,
no.
2001, B, 1999, C, 2010, or D, 1998?
98?
Is that your answer?
Yeah.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
All right, I can't tell you what it is because it didn't come.
Okay. Best quiz ever.
All right, next question. In the city that never sleeps, where big dreams and big movies are made, which film takes place in the Big Apple? A, Love Actually, B, Freaky Friday, C, Mean Girls, D, Bridesmaids, or E, Elf?
That's a lot of choices.
That is a lot of choices.
You're still gonna punch me in the throat for not watching Mean Girls. Haven't seen that one.
What?
I know. I'm gonna say Elf
So
because
wait.
they do all the holiday stuff. Elf.
Yeah, you're right. So, but you're telling me that every time I say you go Glen Coco, you don't even know why you're laughing at it?
No, but I know it's in reference to. And I like me a good rhyme.
You're like, oh, Justina, that's so funny. Whatever, you're stupid.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen it.
I thank you for humoring me, though. I appreciate it.
I like a reference, even if I haven't seen the thing.
All right,
It's all
okay.
good.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Elf.
Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, you're right. All right, so finish the lyrics. Apple bottom jeans.
Both with the fur.
With the fur.
And the mom was looking at her. I don't want to add that one to our WMSR. I guess we can.
Yeah, we can. Whatever. It's fun. But the options were, and her high heel shoes. Next thing you know, she hit the floor, and then baggy sweatpants. Basically all variations of different lyrics.
Okay. All
The
right.
same song. But yes, you're right. It's the boots with the fur. Who turns a crabapple tree into gold during Harry Potter's 17th birthday celebration at the Burrow?
No.
Are you a Potterhead?
No.
Me either. But the options are Fred and George Weasley, A. B, Hermione Granger. It's Hermione, right? Hermione Granger.
Sure.
C, Ginny Weasley. D, Harry himself. Or E, Hagrid.
I'm gonna say the twins, the redhead twins.
Fred and George.
Fred and George.
Fred and George Weasley. All right. Which Disney movie features the song Rotten to the Core? A,
God.
Inside Out. B, Strange Music. C, The Good Dinosaur. D, Descendants. Or E, Ant-Man.
Descendants.
I think you're right. And I only know this because of Molly.
Yeah. The nannying goes a long
All right,
way, doesn't
dude, you got 9 out of 10.
it? Which one did I get wrong?
It says you're a pop culture pro. Almost down to your listen, almost down to your core.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We
Wonder
know
which
it's
one I got
hard
wrong.
getting all of the insider information. It doesn't
Stemlet.
tell you what the answers are, though.
I feel like it was the Jolly Rancher one.
Yeah, or the apples to apples.
Yeah, could be. I had a friend who would eat the entire apple besides the little stem.
Really?
Yeah, the whole
Weird.
thing.
That's weird. That's weird. That's like people who eat fucking oranges with the skin on. Or no, what is it? Kiwis. Have you ever seen a weirdo eat a
Oh.
kiwi with the skin on?
What?
Avi does that shit.
Oh my God. No, I've
Yeah.
never seen that. That fuzz
Yeah.
would freak me out.
Right?
It would
It's
be like,
eating elephant balls.
that's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. It's like having a ball in your mouth.
No thanks, man. Blech.
Ugh. Blech.
Anyway.
Hang on.
All right, so we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about all of the correspondences and magical uses of the apple, as well as how to use the apple in your herbal remedies and witchy practice. So we'll be right back. You're listening to Magnolia Street Podcast. All right, man, we're back. Thanks for sticking around.
Here we go.
All right, I need to stop it right now.
You stop it.
You stop it right now. All right, so we're going to talk about some magical meanings, correspondences, magical properties, medicinal uses, all that good stuff coming right up right now. I have the Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. And as you guys know, as we've stated in the beginning of this episode, today we are not in Mercury retrograde, but it was for us today. We lost all of our notes, and I spent like an hour typing this whole passage in our Evernote for this episode, but I'm going to read it from the book now because I didn't have time to retype
to rewrite it. Yep.
So we're going to go
reading from the good book.
We're reading from the good book. So yeah, so this is
Delightful.
from Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. I freaking love this book. This is one of my favorite books. It's so informative. Normally there's like a small blurb for each herb in here, but the apple had a pretty significant amount of info here. So we're going to get into this right now.
All right.
This is on page 35 if you guys have this book and you're interested in checking this out. Everything in this book also is alphabetical. It's an encyclopedia, is what it says. So it's alphabetical if you're looking for it.
Tickling that
apple-
Virgo bone.
It does tickle my Virgo bone. So it says apples, the seeds in large amounts are poisonous. I guess that's cyanide. Would that be cyanide in apple seed? I don't know. What kind of poison is it?
Or arsenic?
Arsenic? Yeah, I think
Cyanide?
you're right. Something like that.
I think it's arsenic.
Something like that. Either way, don't eat the fucking seeds. They're poisonous.
But
Folk
it
names.
takes a lot. It takes a lot of seeds.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you ready for some folk names?
Are they AKAs? Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah, AKA, here we go. Fruit of the gods, fruit of the underworld, silver branch, the silver bough, and tree of love.
That's sweet.
I thought there would have been some cooler ones in here, you know?
Like what?
Like, I don't know, like devil's trumpet or some shit, like devil's coach horse, devil's backbone,
Devil's
coffin cutter.
backbone.
I don't know, something cooler than tree of love. Like, all right, cool, whatever.
We get a little softy here in this apple episode.
All right, so we know that the gender of an apple is feminine. It's ruled by the planet Venus and the element of water. The deities are Venus, Dionysus, Olwen, Apollo, Hera, Athena, Aphrodite, Diana, Zeus, and Iduna. I don't know.
Idun?
I don't know. The powers are love, healing, garden magic, and immortality. And the ritual uses are on August 13th, Diana's festival, or the festival of Venus in Rome. On this day, a ritual meal was prepared, part of which consisted of apples still hanging on their boughs. Wiccan altars are often piled high with apples and Samhain, for the apple is considered to be one of the foods of the dead. For this very reason, Samhain is sometimes known as the Feast of Apples. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
That's very interesting. So the apple is a symbol of immortality. A branch of the apple which bore buds, flowers, and fully ripened fruit, sometimes known as the silver bough, was a kind of magical charm which enabled its possessor to enter into the land of the gods, the underworld, and Celtic mythology. In the Old English ballad, Thomas the Rhymer, the fairy queen warns Thomas against eating any of the apples. What?
It's like a rapper name.
Thomas the Rhymer? Yo, 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 I spit these apple seeds, yo.
That's right.
Oh, man, that's funny. The fairy queen warns Thomas against eating any of the apples and pears which hung in her garden, for to eat the food of the dead ensures there will be no return to the world of the living. It's like, do you ever see Pan's Labyrinth, the thing with like the eyeballs in the hands?
I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
She's like in that like dream world or the underworld with this like, there's like a table and it's got like a feast on it. And she's warned before she goes down there not to eat anything. And she plucks a grape and she eats it because it was just so juicy and enticing. And then this friggin' creature with the hands and the eyes in the hands starts like chasing after her, and it's fucking horrifying.
Oh, he chases her?
Yeah, it's
Ooh.
it's horrifying.
It's giving me Persephone vibes with the pomegranate, you know.
Yeah, basically. I was only like 22 or 23 when I saw that movie, and I was still friggin' it scared the shit out of me.
He's freaky.
Yeah, it was very, very creepy. Okay, so in some Wiccan traditions, the apple is a symbol of the soul, and so they are buried on Samhain so that those who will be reborn in the spring will have food during the cold winter months. The apple has long been used in love spells. The blossoms are added to love sachets, brews, and incenses, and they are infused in melted pink wax, then strained out to make candles suitable to burn for attracting love. A simple apple love spell consists of cutting an apple in half and sharing it with your loved one. This ensures that you will be happy together. A similar spell directs you to hold an apple in your hands until warm, and then give it to your intended. If he or she eats it, your love will be returned. Apples are these are like old wives' tales. Apples are also used in love divinations, which were so popular among unmarried women in Europe for many centuries. Simply cut an apple in two and count the number of seeds. If they are even, marriage will soon occur. If one of the seeds is cut, it may be a stormy relationship. If two are cut, widowhood is foretold. However, if an uneven number of seeds are found, the woman will remain unmarried in the near future. And one last apple love spell. Take an apple before it falls from the tree and write upon it with a sharp knife the following: Alio plus Delio plus Delato. Weird. I don't know if that's Latin or just mumbo jumbo, but those be the words. And
Okay.
as you do this, say the following. Ready? I conjure thee, apple, by these names which are written on thee, that what woman or man toucheth and tasteth thee may love me and burn in my love as fire melteth wax. It's very Shakespearean. So then, give the apple to whom you will, but be warned, for this, like much love magic, borders on manipulation.
So I think our next episode is actually love potions and spells.
Yeah.
Right? So we could just, for people who hop around, you know, and don't go in order, let's talk about some of this, because a love spell apple thing we kind of mentioned before, which is going to be in the next episode, is like the peeling of, you have to peel the apple all the way around without breaking the peel, and then you toss that peel over your shoulder, and the whatever shape it makes, whatever letter it is, will be the first letter of like your true love.
Oh, I've never heard of that. That's so cool.
I think it was in like The Crucible or Pride and Prejudice or something. I'm thinking it was The Crucible, but
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I've never done that with apple skin. You know, my dad does with peach skin.
what?
Actually, he might have done this with apple skin too. He'll cut a peach like from the very tippy top, and like he'll spiral all the way around down to the bottom of the peach, and then he'll take that entire long cutting, and I don't know how he does this and it doesn't break, but he makes a rose out of
Pretty
skin. Yeah,
That's pretty.
it's so cute. But that made me think of that. If you do that with apple skin, if you make a rose with apple skin, that's kind of also like a little love spell. You can lay them on your altar. Anyway, so for healing, cut an apple into 3 pieces, rub each on the affected part of the body, and then bury them. Do this during the waning of the moon to banish illnesses. To ensure that you do not contract a fever, eat an apple. If you are a gardener, pour cider onto freshly... Didn't you say this before? If you're a gardener, pour cider onto freshly turned earth to give it life just before planting. Did you say that before?
Oh, interesting. I know it adds acidity to the soil. So if you have really alkaline soil.
Right. Also, pour libations on roots just before tree rituals. And you were talking about the tree rituals before with the Edwardian or Victorian. Yeah.
Yeah, my boo.
And if you grow apples, bury 13 leaves of an apple tree after harvest to ensure a good crop of apples next year. The Norse, as well as many other people, ate apples to gain immortality through wisdom, and the wood of the apple tree can be made into charms for longevity. Apple wood also makes excellent magical wands, which we have a little excerpt coming up about that, right? I saw that. Especially suited to emotional magic as well as love rites. Use apple cider in place of blood where it is called for in old recipes. Apples can be fashioned into puppets or magical figures for use in spells, or images can be carved from the wood itself.
You can also smoke marijuana out of them.
I've never tried it, but sure. I mean, if that tickles your pickle.
Trust me.
Kristina knows. She knows these things. Where we leave. Okay, so before eating any apple, rub it to remove any demons or evil spirits which might be hiding inside. And then in parentheses, it says you can't be too careful. And then finally, last thing about the old apple here. Okay, finally, unicorns live beneath apple trees, as well as those of the ash. And so, if you know of an apple orchard, quietly go there on a misty day. You may see a single horn upraised and a horse-like animal quietly munching sweet magical apples. How cute is that?
My jaw is on the floor.
Adorable.
I love that.
That was the last line. But that's all that there is in this Scott Cunningham's book of Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs about the apple. So
What's
that
up?
Yeah.
Is that we'll have that linked.
Yeah.
Get that on the good old Amazon. So you had kind of touched on apple tree wood, the wood from trees, and in another episode, we talked about donor trees, which I still don't know what they are. Do you remember what episode that was in? I think it was in Brew Magic and Lore.
Was it?
And we were talking about donor trees, and like apple was one of them. Still no idea what it is. So we're going to talk about a little bit about apple magic and meanings from the Druid's Garden again. And then there's a bit about the significance of the tree wood itself and how that contributes to apple wands. So it says apple's blessing. Apples offer blessings, abundance, fertility, and magic in nearly every story they show up in. Apple's blessings are apparent from giving nature. Apples can sustain people through difficult winters. They can be baked, fermented, dried, and made into wonderful and delicious foods that nurture and heal as much as they sustain. Apples offer us a connection to our ancestors and our future through their nurturing spirit, blessing, and wisdom. Apples as healing and a life-giving force. So the golden apples, present in so much of the magical lore, demonstrated in the life-sustaining and the longevity properties of apples. Magical golden apples offer keys to the eternal youth, eternal life, and healing. And apples as gateway, we talked about before. It says, like her sister, the hawthorn. Hey, you were just saying, like, it's kind of like a gateway, because like the fairy gateway and the unicorn gateway.
Yeah.
Everybody is, it's like easy pass. It's like the
Ron
turnpike.
Jeremy gateway.
Oh no. The hawthorn, although to a lesser extent, apple trees can be gateways to other realms and experiences. The holes that open in the ground, the apples as a key to the castle, and the sleeping person under the apple that is transported to a new place. Apples offer us these journeys and experiences in a much more gentle way than hawthorn.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about apple wands, since we touched a little bit about that in Scott Cunningham's book. Tell us a little bit more about those wands.
I don't use a wand particularly.
Neither do I.
Okay. Well, maybe this will change our minds. So here we go. Okay. So an apple wand is any wand that is crafted out of the wood made from an apple tree. More specifically, an apple wand is any wand that has apple wood shaft, an apple wood handle, or both. So apple trees have the folk names Fruit of the Gods, Fruit of the Underworld, Silver Branch, Silver Bough, and Tree of Love, like you said before. Mm-hmm. Apple trees are widely found in the middle latitudes, especially in the northern hemispheres. Almost all applewood wands are made from the wood of the common domesticated apple tree. Rarely wands have been made from the wild ancestor of the domesticated apple tree, which can still be found growing in Western Asia. The easiest way for a wand maker to recognize an apple tree, at least during the fall, is naturally to look for the apples, either on the tree or lying on the ground beneath it. They have white or slightly pink flowers in the spring, bear fruit in the fall, and lose their leaves during the winter. They are relatively small trees and typically between 10 and 20 feet tall, especially when pruned to make the apples easier to harvest. The biggest apple trees can grow up to 40 feet when left alone. When they are grown in full sunlight, apple trees have many large branches low on the trunk, giving them a canopy of branches and leaves that is typically wider than the tree is tall.
So, EnchantedLivingMagazine.com, this is the, I guess, the rebrand, this is Fairy Magazine, right? They say, given that the apple tree is a magical gift of Mother Earth and has been revered since ancient times, let us honor and celebrate this magnificent creation. Here are some simple, fun ways you can work with apples, their blossoms, bark, and luscious fruit to get in touch with and honor the spirit of the tree and enhance the magic and health of your own life. So the first way is to use an apple love divination. Apple love divination has a long history. You might try this age-old ritual traditionally performed on Halloween night. As we learned before, the apple is the official fruit of Samhain, which we just learned. To see a vision of your future partner, turn out the lights, light a candle, cut an apple into 9 pieces, and eat 8 of them while gazing in the mirror.
Whoa.
It's like some Bloody Mary shit.
Yeah, really.
Pierce the 9th piece with your paring knife and hold it over your shoulder. The apparition of your future partner is said to appear to you and take it. That's creepy.
That's a little weird.
I don't know if I want any kind of love interest appearing to me in a mirror.
Get out of my room.
That's what kind of relationship? That's
Edward Cullen relationship.
Yeah. That's a Casper relationship right there. Apples have long been used for love spells, creating an anointing oil to call your soulmates to you or enhance an existing love. On the night of a new moon, put 8 dried apple blossom petals into a small, pretty bottle. Cover them with carrier oil, like fractionated coconut oil or another skin-friendly oil. Gently shake the bottle each day, envisioning the qualities you desire in your mate or the feelings that you wish to be enhanced between you and your existing lover. On the eve of the full moon, anoint your heart center with the liquid to open it and draw your soulmate to you, or to enhance the bond with your lover. A note on ethics. Keep in mind that love spells should never involve coercion, but rather work with existing feelings between 2 consenting partners.
That's right. We are going to reiterate all this next week.
An apple branch can be used to craft magical tools like a besom, which we talked about on the broom episodes, also known as witch's broom, or even a set of runes. I recommend using a fallen branch as opposed to disturbing a healthy tree. Apple is the wood traditionally used for the witch's wand and viewed as having strong magical powers. To make a wand, find a fallen small apple branch that calls to you and whittle it with a knife, if you wish, to achieve a smooth texture. Seal your wand with melted beeswax to protect the wood. You may choose to decorate it with crystals and charms, or just leave it natural. You can create some apple incense. So dried apple blossoms, seeds, and bark can be burned as a natural incense to strengthen divination practices like tarot reading, scrying, and automatic writing, and to enhance magical rituals and spells associated with love, healing, and connection to the spirit world. To make, simply grind up dried apple blossoms, seeds, or bark in a mortar and pestle. Burn the powder on a special incense charcoal tablet in a heat-proof vessel, like a cast iron or copper cauldron. To produce a more pleasant aroma, you can add a ground-up resin, a resin tier like copal or frankincense to the compound. Adding a drop of essential oil will also do.
Apple blossom seed stuff we're gonna burn.
Gonna burn. I like where you're going with that.
Thanks, man.
So then you can also create a rose and apple love tea blend. This author says, I relish in crafting herbal tea blends and particularly love a blend made from wild rose petals and apple blossoms, foraged from beech rose bushes along the coast of Maine and wild apple trees that grow in woodlands and pastures all throughout my small rural town. This tea is delicious, served with apple blossom infused honey. Oh, there's a recipe below. Oh, use 1 heaping teaspoon of dry tea blend per boiling cup of water, allowing it to steep 10 to 15 minutes. To better release the herb's properties, crush them first using a mortar and pestle. Apple blossom infused medicinal honey soothes the sore throat and can be used as a cold preventative. Simply fill a pint-sized mason jar half full with unsprayed fresh apple blossoms. So the flower, now we're talking from the apple tree. And those blossoms, it's very quick. Like in the springtime, the lifespan of an apple blossom or any kind of blossom in the springtime for that matter, it's probably like maybe a week or 2. So you got to get them. Yeah. So you got to get them when you see them.
Okay.
Because they are there and gone. So pour honey over the blossoms, filling the jar all the way to the top. Cap it and set it in a warm spot near a sunny window out of direct sunlight. Allow it to infuse for 2 weeks. Strain the infused honey through a strainer lined with cheesecloth and discard the plant matter in your compost pile. Store your magical apple blossom honey in a cool, dark pantry or in the refrigerator. It should keep for several months or longer.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, it does sound good.
All right, apple wands have apple wood for the handle shaft, we kind of touched on before. Because the degree to which a specific type of wood strengthens spells of a specific spell set is roughly proportional to the amount of wood in the wand, there's not much difference between using the wood for the handle or shaft. However, the wood's ability to strengthen spells is roughly doubled when it is used for both the handle and the shaft. So the following shows the magical properties of the apple wood and that they are the same for all types of apple trees. So elementals listed here are quintessence, fire, and earth. And Justina's going to tell us what that is in a minute. The phase is light. I guess that's the phase of the day. And the gender is, of course, feminine.
Oh, okay. So in physics, quintessence is a hypothetical form of dark energy, more precisely a scalar field, postulated as an explanation of the observation of the accelerating rate of...
Whoa. Put your glasses on.
I gotta... In physics, quintessence is a hypothetical form of dark energy, more precisely a scalar field, postulated as an explanation of the observation of accelerating rate of expansion of the universe.
Oh my god, that was insane.
So good.
A little cotton ball in your cheek.
I feel like what's his name? Doc Brown.
Dude, that was so good. Apple trees
that
are
was
one of
so nerdy.
I loved it. It was perfect. I could feel the spit from here.
So nerdy.
You're like the well actually kind of character. Well, actually. Apple trees are one of the few trees that have the elemental quintessence.
There you go.
Apple wands work best when strengthening the following types of quintessential spells.
Quintessential?
Right.
I've heard of quintessential. I didn't
Yeah.
know it like had like a dark spell meaning.
It's news to me. That's
I
why we
know.
started this podcast, because we're dum-dums and we need the context.
We are learning shit today.
So, enchant. Commonly used by wand makers, apple wands excel at casting spells used to enchant other wands, amulets, charms, and staffs. So, we also have travel to fairy worlds, perhaps. Apple wands excel at casting spells that enable their subjects to travel back and forth to the fairy realm, either via portal or apparition.
Yeah.
Apple trees have the element of fire associated with them, probably because of their bright red fruit and the sapwood being of a light red in color.
Kristina, what card did we pull today?
Fire!
Well, fire!
We pulled the fire card!
Come on, baby, light my fire.
Great song.
Anyway, go on.
Dude, that's crazy. Every time it works. All right. Chicka, 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 chicka. Okay. Apple trees have the elemental association with fire, probably because of their bright red fruit and the sapwood being of a light red color. Apple wands work best when strengthening the following type of fire spells. Protection, long used to protect people and property from fire. Apple wands excel at casting defensive spells that protect against fire-related dangers, such as fires and their resulting burns. Long associated with fertile soil and farmland, apple trees also have the element of earth. Apple wands work best when strengthening earth spells from the following. So, infertility, highly valued by magical doctors and midwives, apple wands excel at casting spells that make people and animals more fertile or make childbirth easier. This says enter, a very effective magnifier of magic associated with entry into protective places. Apple wands excel at casting spells that unlock doors or enable their target to pass through locked doors, walls, or other barriers. So it's like a barrier breaker.
Okay.
What's that called?
I don't know. Barrier breaker.
Like a tank. Tank girl, like a road opening. A road opener.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it also can help your plants. Here we go. So, valued by farmers, apple wands are widely recognized to excel at casting spells that create new plants, increase their growth, and cause abundant harvests. So, I mentioned before about a phase, and like in my mind, that's like the phase during the time of day. The phase listed was light, but here we go. This expands on it a little more. It says applewood has phase light, and apple wands work best when strengthening light spells. So being healed, closely associated with healing, apple wands excel at casting spells that heal their targets from illnesses, injuries, and dark maladies. Love, highly prized by matchmakers. I had like 3 movies blip through my head. I had like Mulan. I had Fiddler on the Roof. Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a find.
Do you ever see Hitch with Will Smith and
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I love that movie.
Nailed it. Fuck. All right. Apple wands are widely recognized as excellent at casting spells that make their targets fall in love, whether romantically or platonically. Apple wands excel at casting light spells, and to a lesser extent, twilight spells from this spell set. The gender is feminine, as we touched on before. Thus, these wands tend to work better for witches rather than wizards. And some additional characteristics. The common humble apple tree is one of the most magical trees. Not only is it one of the few trees that excel at casting quintessential spells, apple is also one of the very few woods that work best strengthening spells of 3 different elementals. Applewood is also strongly tuned to the light, and applewood wands are rarely, if ever, used by dark witches and wizards.
All right, so it seems that this apple is pretty high vibe.
It's a high vibe.
So high vibe.
It's got their light vibes.
Yeah.
Showing its butthole to the sun. I think that part got cut out at the very beginning.
I think you're right.
Additional magical uses are as follows. You could use it for amulets, which Alice Hoffman touches on in her books. Applewood is used in the crafting of amulets for protection from deception. Charms. Applewood is often used in the crafting of bountiful harvest, fertility, good health, and love charms. Talismans and staffs. Applewood talismans and wizard staffs have essentially the same characteristics of applewood wands. Potions. Applewood is used in the brewing of healing and love potions, and some other uses along with hawthorn wood and yew wood. Celtic mages often use small discs of applewood marked with runes for divination.
Applewood has the following properties related to woodworking and the crafting of wands. The first one is drying. Applewood dries slowly. Applewood may warp badly or split if the drying conditions are not carefully controlled. It will shrink about 6% across the grain and 10% with the grain during drying. It also tends to swell and shrink due to seasonal changes in humidity. Apple sapwood is light red. Apple heartwood varies from a light reddish or grayish brown to a deeper red/brown. Applewood also takes wood stains well. Applewood has a straight grain and its texture is fine and even. Applewood or apple also has closed pores. The grain of apples sometimes has streaks of darker and lighter bands of color. Its strength, similar to oak, applewood is very hard and dense. Once dried and seasoned, apple holds its shape well with high dimensional stability. As far as woodworking, while highly resistant to cutting, applewood cuts cleanly with a sharp plane and turns well on a lathe, although care must be taken to avoid burning the wood. It is relatively easy to bore the core. Given its fine texture, applewood is very suitable for carving. Applewood glues, sands, stains, and polishes well. And other common uses of applewood, it's used in the crafting of fine furniture, tool handles, mallet heads, and other small specialty wood objects. It is also used for carving and objects turned on a lathe.
How practical.
It's very practical.
How freaking practical.
Yeah.
I have some little excerpts from a book called Jude's Herbal Home Remedies, and it's by Jude C. Williams. We'll link it. You can get it on Amazon. This book is freaking awesome. It's really fantastic book. But they have some interesting things. It was when I first started looking into herbalism when I was still in California, like 2000, when I first moved out there, 2011, 12. It was like ranked high and recommended from herbalists. So here we go. I got a couple little things, and then I'll just run down a list of like what apple cider vinegar is good for, because it's a lot, and I was not going to retake all those notes.
Everything.
Yeah,
literally. Yeah.
So you can use apples as a bath addition. Here we go. I got a little recipe for you. So you can pour 1.5 pints of boiling water over a 1/4 cup of dried apple slices, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of whole cloves. Steep for 30 minutes, and then mix it in with your bath water. Don't put the boiling water in while you're in there. Like, mix it in, okay? Do you have any diarrhea lately?
No, but the other day my poop was like green, and I was like, "What does that mean?
What the fuck?
Am I dying? Am I turning into a vegetable?" I think it was, I don't know, it might have been the hot sauce from Chipotle. It was green. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So this is an apple drink for diarrhea. But can I just say, when I worked at that apple orchard, they had apple cider slushies, and I was all about them for like the whole day. And I was in the bathroom all night, just shitting my brains out.
Yeah, apple
It'll make you go.
You up. Yeah, it will.
So here we go. Simmer 1 pared apple in 1 cup of milk until very soft. Put the apple milk mixture in a blender and blend it until smooth. Drink 1/2 cup after every bowel movement until relief is obtained. Okay. Apple milk? That sounds like horrible. Some very like drawing.
That sounds disgusting.
It does. All right. And here, apple juice laxative. This is what we're talking about.
All right.
Mix together 1/2 cup of apple juice and 1/2 cup of olive oil. That's it. And drink it before you go to bed.
Just drink that. Wow.
Drink it before you go to. I don't know if I would do it before. I need a closer proximity to a bathroom than.
And if you're gonna go to bed right after that, wear a fucking diaper.
Yes.
Because you're gonna go in your sleep.
Apple pectin. Here we go. Apple pectin has magnetic properties that attract ions of metal in the blood, such as lead, arsenic, and other pollutants. These are then flushed from the system. Pectin also regulates the bowels and is effective in lowering cholesterol levels in the blood. Which we kind of talked about earlier. But there's also stuff in there about apples helping with gout. There's a recipe to help with gout. But here we go. Here's a little list of apple cider vinegar treatments, what you can use it for. All right. You can use acne treatments, dandruff treatments, hair growth, bald patches, poison ivy. It also had like nettle rashes. Impetigo, which I had to look up. Impetigo is like, it's called school sores. It's a highly contagious skin infection that causes red sores on the face. Mostly in kids, I guess, in schools. It mainly affects infants and children. The symptom is a red sore that forms around the nose and mouth. The sores rupture and then ooze for days, and then forms a yellow. It just continues on.
That sounds horrible.
You can use apple cider vinegar for burns. You can use it more specifically sunburns, athlete's foot, cough syrup, asthma, thrush, colds and sore throats.
Okay.
I'm sure you could use it for cold sores.
Sure you could.
Anemia, sprain poultices, and it also has a full section on like pet care and like animal care, so you can use it if for sprains on your pets or farm animals, and arthritis.
That's a lot of stuff.
I got the arthritis.
That's a lot of stuff.
Got the diabetes.
Dude, apple cider vinegar is so versatile. Is that the word?
Yeah.
You can use it for so much. You could use it.
Sure.
You could use it to clean your counters. Vinegar.
It's kind of stinky.
Or maybe white vinegar, regular vinegar. You can use
Yeah.
counters, toilets, whatever. We have some more from Enchanted Living magazine, issue number 40, and this is this the Practical Magic issue?
It sure is,
and it has something about cider vinegar.
It sure does.
Oh, look at that. Okay.
There you go.
So, witchy cider vinegar and rendition of Rosemary Gladstar's Queen of Hungary toner.
Oh, here she is. She's a herbal teacher and practitioner with more than 35 years experience working with herbs.
Okay.
She's the director of the Internal Herb Symposium and the annual Women's Herbal Conference, co-founder of the Traditional Medicinal Tea Company, for which she formulated original blends, and founding president of the nonprofit United Plant Savers. In 2013, Gladstar was awarded with the American Botanical Council's first annual Mark Blumenthal Herbal Community Builder Award. She lives in Vermont.
Okay, so Rosemary Gladstar's Queen of Hungary toner from Tree to Face. It was originally created by an alchemist in the 1300s.
Whoa.
So it says cider vinegar. Pick 5 small apples in late September or early October when the moon is waxing. Wash, chop, and put into a large half-gallon jar. Add 3 teaspoons of raw local honey dissolved in warm water, sugar if you're vegan, and 1 cup of water using the honey water. Cover with a cheesecloth and tie the edges with a baker's string. Place it in a dark, warm cupboard for 3 weeks. Strain and return liquid to the same jar. Cover again with cheesecloth and string. Return to cover for 6 weeks, stirring occasionally. Seal with lid and store in the same glass jar until use. For witch hazel, soak a few pieces of witch hazel bark in 1 cup of water for 30 minutes. Bring it to a boil and reduce to simmer for 10 minutes. Remove from the heat and steep for another 10 minutes. Strain and store in glass jar until use. And then we have a toner that you can make throughout the summer and into early autumn. Collect herbs: 6 parts lemon balm, 3 parts comfrey leaves, 4 parts chamomile, 1 part lemon peel, 4 part rose petals, 1 part lavender, 3 parts calendula flowers, 1 part sage, and then put all these herbs in a glass jar. Add enough cider vinegar to cover the plants by 3 inches. Lid the jar and store in a warm cupboard for 3 weeks. So strain herbs, and for every cup of vinegar plant liquid, add half cup of witch hazel. Add a few drops of essential oil of your choice. Witchy likes to use rose and geranium, and store in a glass bottle. Shake gently before each use. Apply with a cotton pad morning and night, and it keeps indefinitely, it says.
Amazing.
Yeah. I love good old homemade Bath and Body product.
I feel like there is so much more Apple stuff that we didn't even touch on. Oh,
God. Yeah. We barely scratched the surface, I'm sure. Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah. But that's about all we have for you guys for apples today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
You can find us over at Instagram. We're at Magnolia Street Podcast. You can send us an email at magnoliastreetpodcast@gmail.com. And you can find a bunch of our links in our Koji under our Instagram. If you go to Koji, it can bring you to our Patreon, but you can also type in Magnolia Street Podcast over there. You want to tell them a little bit about the tiers? You're so good at that.
I become a sales pitch at this point. I have them on like
Rolodex.
Yeah, may I have a little toot, toot,
Slot
toot in my
machine.
brain, right? So tier 1, you guys can get in on all the polls if you want to help us decide what topics to talk about in future episodes. Get in on that $1 tier. And also the $1 tier, you also have access to our song-a-sode polls. So you get to help us decide what songs we want to showcase next. Because as you guys know, we do have like a 20 song concept album written.
Yeah.
So we want to showcase more of the songs, but we also need you to help us out. Leave us an Apple Podcast review. We need one more review before we roll out another song-a-sode. On tier 3, you can get all of our show notes. So for today's show, everything that we covered, all of our sources and everything in one concise, aesthetically pleasing printable PDF if you want that, as well as all of our other episode show notes up to this point.
Yeah. And our after hours stuff.
Yes, and also there are some after hours posts after each episode. We post little tidbits, little behind the scenes things, little additions, little anecdotes in addition to the episodes that, we're recording for you. Tier 5, you get access to a private Facebook community and our private Discord, which we are having our first book club. This is our first month doing the book club, so get on over there if you want to be part of that. If you guys are on our Patreon, Kristina usually makes like monthly calendars in the beginning of every month, so the live dates should be on those calendars, so check those out if you want to get in on our lives. And then we have our $8 tier, which is our song-a-sode tier. Every time we roll out a song, we'll post all the song stuff on there, lyrics, behind the scenes stuff, like the writing of old demos, stuff that nobody else is going to be hearing. And also we do have some bonus episodes on there, like really juicy 2-hour bonus sodes. And also Kristina has a meditation up there. Like a guided walk through the Owens house, which is really cute. So we have some other pretty neat audiovisual stuff up on the $8 tier. So check that out if you want a little something extra. And
Awesome.
that's about it. That's all we got for the Patreon. We got a voicemail. Leave us a voicemail if you want to drop us a line.
Join us next week when we're going to talk about love potions and spells.
Potion number 9. Well, we have to put that on the the Spotify playlist.
That's right, we do.
Love potion number 9.
Yep, we'll talk about that song too in that episode, man.
All right, guys. Kristina's eyes are closing. We have to close out right now.
Puffy my eyes are.
Go to sleep, Kristina. Go to sleep.
I'm Kristina.
I'm Justina.
Thanks for joining us here at Magnolia Street.
We'll see you next time.
At that house down the street, at that house on Magnolia Street, would you go down to Magnolia Street with the wisteria girl? Wow, and that house of magic and mystery. So would you go down to Magnolia Street?
What?
Okay, thank you for doing the segue.
Can you hear that? Oh my God, stop it right now. You stop it right freaking now. You know who does that all the time and it drives me nuts? Yes. What do you know about ooh-woo girls, Kristina?
Nothing. Why does Molly know what an ooh-woo girl is?
I don't know. I don't even know I still don't know what an ooh-woo girl is. What the hell's an ooh-woo girl?
It's like one of those like cam girls. Like
Seriously?
yeah.
She'll just like sit in my car and just be like, "Ooh," for like 10 minutes straight.